Struggling to get your business online? At Domains2U, we make it easy with fast domain registration, powerful web hosting, and top-tier security solutions. Our hosting solutions ensure speed, security, and reliability with 99.9% uptime and daily backups. Find the perfect domain name and get online in minutes. Get started today at domains2u.com.au.
Good evening, race fans. Welcome back to round 5 of the Domains2U GT3 Championship, brought to you by MC Motorsport, and of course right here for your viewing pleasure on the Simple Racing Broadcasts YouTube channel. Tonight we are coming to you from one of North America's most iconic circuits, the high-speed, high-stakes Road America. We are nestled in the rolling hills of Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, and this 6.5 kilometer, 14-turn masterpiece has tested the very best drivers for decades. Tonight it plays host to the next chapter in what has already been an absolutely thrilling GT3 season. With slipstream battles down the long straights, tight braking zones into Canada Corner and Turn 5, and plenty of room for side-by-side action, Road America is a true driver's circuit, and I guarantee it's going to deliver drama from the lights to the checkered flag here this evening. Our championship fight is halfway done. The rivalries are building and every point matters as we approach the end of this season. Buckle up, this is GT3 racing at its finest, and as always, to bring the action to you this evening, I'm joined in the booth by Dean Biggles Hopton. Biggles, welcome back. Road America, it's a very, very long circuit, and short of the Nürburgring, of course. It's certainly set to test the drivers out here tonight over a couple of grueling race distances.
Absolutely. Good to be back in the booth with you again too, Jared. Yeah, exactly. This is one of those drivers' favourite tracks as well, to the high speed, of course, here in the United States of America. And on top of it, just add a little bit more pressure. The championship finale is looming in a couple more rounds around the corner. So they've got to maximise the amount of points you can here. You can't afford too many slip-ups if you're battling out for that championship.
Absolutely right. And speaking of, let's have a look at the championship standings as we go into round 5 here tonight. After tonight, just 3 rounds to go. Of course, round 8 being the driver's vote, and we will get confirmation, but I believe we're going to be heading to Magny Court for that one, so what a place for a season finale. As it stands right now, though, the start of round 5, Jeremy Washington out in front, 576 points, just keeping his nose in front of Reese Wakefield from Antic Motorsports. And don't count out Josh Benno just yet. The FCR SimSport driver is not too far behind there. You've then got a really tight battle heating up for 4th place with Mick Polly, Daniel Poulton and Kyle Ridley, all separated by 11 points. Just quick math there, could be off the mark, but I'm pretty sure 11 points separating the 3 of them there tonight. Aaron Gilbert a little further back on 472 has to watch his heels as well, as Lachlan Burke, James Salhani and Henry King round out the top 10 in the championship so far. It's been a really tight one to this point, Biggles, and I don't think we're seeing the end of this yet. There's still quite a lot of points on offer. Of course, 100 points for each race here tonight, and with a 13-lap sprint and a 26-lap main race, there's plenty of time for things to happen and to really change the face of this championship as we look towards crowning our 3rd GT3 championship here with MC Motorsport.
Yeah, and you think about that, a maximum of about 200 points on offer, or, you know, a couple little bonus points perhaps on top of that. But if you don't even get a finish at a DNF here, that's potentially, you know, a couple hundred points gone. Absolutely. And just completely wipe that off. And so late in the championship, that can flip your position currently at the moment. So you've just, to first finish, you've just got to finish, mate. That's where it is, depending on how far up you are on the grid. But that's still a chunk of change that you need battling deep into the championship.
You absolutely do. Welcome back, Courtney Platts, joining us in the chat once again. No doubt here for a bit more of Kyle Ridley's efforts to make his way up the championship standings. And as we get ready to go racing here tonight, let's go down and check out the last few minutes of qualifying and take a look how they are all stacking up. As we let's start off with perhaps the championship leader, shall we? Let's go and take a look at Jeremy Washington and see how he is faring as he makes his way around the track here. Obviously, the qualifying and open qualifying does make it a little bit more interesting compared to perhaps some of the other leagues or races you might have seen. Most seem to run a lone qualifying session, and the open qualifying really does add a different flavour to it overall, doesn't it, Biggles?
Well, it certainly does when you have, give or take, 30 odd cars on the track. So you've got to find a gap out there because you're trying to push it to the absolute limit. And on top of it, you know, drivers are making mistakes around you because they're pushing it to the limit. They realise that, hey, they can smash that car into the fence if needed. The mechanics will magically repair that car and get you back out there for another qualifying run. But of course, that can throw you off, isn't it? If you're going around a corner and all of a sudden you're seeing this dust and kitty litter kicked up all over the place, you're probably going to chicken foot it a little bit, and that's AKA lifting. Compromises his lap, but he could do it all over again.
Yeah, thankfully though, you do have a bit of a better shot at it with a timed qualifying session rather than lap-based. Of course, the 15-minute qualifying, it gives you more than one opportunity here, although at a little over 2 minutes a lap, it certainly does take a long time to make it around again if you have your lap interrupted. So everyone keeping a pretty close eye on that. Dean Jacobson was very quick in pre-race practice, so he'll be one to watch tonight in the electrical Race on Oz Porsche as he crosses the line, looking to get underway on what will be his hot lap, and we'll see if he manages to improve from P4. Just in the background you can see another familiar face, of course, but Mitch Curry out on track in the bright red MC Motorsport Mustang, finding himself in a little bit of traffic now. It's the thing, right? Sometimes the open qualifying can be, let's just say, used to your advantage if you can just latch on to a little bit of slipstream and perhaps improve your time by even just a couple hundredths. And when you take a look at our timing tower, the top 10 all separated by less than 9/10. Everything counts, doesn't it, Biggles?
Yeah, absolutely does, especially with a closely packed field. And on top of it, you know, where Mitch Curry is currently at the moment, there's a bit of traffic up the road. So I'm quite surprised that these drivers haven't elected to find some gaps. There are some gaps in the track currently at the moment. Sector 1 will be almost clear. Sector 2 would only have a couple of cars, but they're all bunched up in these other sectors at the moment, 3, 4, and so forth. So they're still allowing themselves a bit of space on track. You can see probably about a second or so between each other, but once again, you're still risking it for the biscuit a little bit. If somebody happens to run a little bit wide and go off track, then you may be compromised for your hot lap.
Yeah, absolutely possible. Wiley Blair crossing the line and remaining in at P24 on that one. Keeping your eye on the tower down the bottom, of course, as these drivers make their way around looking to improve their best times. By this stage, all pretty well locked in, you would think, but you know, we've still got another, 3.5 minutes to go here. Plenty of time for someone to set a quick lap and just catapult themselves up the leaderboard a little further. But as it stands, not a lot of drivers looking to improve. Crowd favourite, self-proclaimed, of course, Danny P, crossing the line, sets a new fastest lap, 203.625, so just improves his already fairly formidable pole position. Looks like Road America might be a little bit of a favourite track for him if this performance is anything to go by.
Yeah, Danny P looking pretty solid at the moment on top of the timesheets. So to keep it up, of course, because we are getting down to the final stages of qualifying. So at this point, you're going to have to make sure that you can put in another lap and secure yourself that more than 2/10 gap that he has currently at the moment to Reese.
Yeah, still not over. You know, 2/10 is not a lot. But when you look at the top view there, just the lack of separation is amazing. Every time we watch these guys go out and race, Reese Wakefield, Josh Benno and Dean Jacobson are all within, look, I'm not going to do the exact maths on it, but they're all within about 2.5 hundredths of a second from each other. That is insanely close. Like that is Formula One level close when it comes to qualifying times.
Certainly is.
We'll
these guys in a Formula One car.
Yeah,
Oscar, look out.
Maybe we do that, W12s. You know, what can go wrong? Wiley Blake coming around, he's looking like he's on track to improve his time. What he can do as he comes up the hill again, crosses the line. Can jump a big jump up from 24th to 14th. So Wiley Blair finding his lines on that run and certainly improving his position. Dan Merko also coming across the line a little further back and improving his. Reese Wakefield, look, probably not likely to improve his overall position right now, but runs a purple sector in that second to last. So he's certainly got some pace and does show just how little there is between himself and the pole position of Danny P. He'll stay where he is, but he shrinks that gap to just under 2/10. So still reeling it in. These guys still finding more time as the track develops. More rubber being laid down with every lap that passes. Josh Benno, meanwhile, again, not going to improve his position by a whole lot, but sets the purple sector in sector 1. So he's found the quickest way around on his lap there. And he'll cross the line. A much slower lap overall, but some good time nonetheless. James Salhani, we'll see what we see from him tonight. Because he's put in a couple of good showings so far this season, but hasn't really converted it to the podium just yet. Maybe tonight will be his night.
Always a time. It's always the first time for something, isn't it? The drivers are going to manage to get. And so you never know if tonight will be James's night. All he has to do is get himself in a good qualifying position so he does do that much work through the field. And at the moment, inside that top 10. Should be enough at the moment, just 8/10 is it clear of our typical time that DDP's done.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think he's going to have time because the session is about to come to a close. And we see him pull it up there. As we wait the last 15 seconds or so before the results are made official, we'll be ready to take a look at the grid in just a moment. And it is going to be a fast and frenetic first race here, 13 laps. Look, they're long laps around Road America, but it is an absolute sprint. The straights here are just incredibly long, and so the top speed of these cars will absolutely be tested as we see them make their way around this evening. This is how we're stacking up for race number 1. Danny P and Reese Wakefield even, on the front row. Josh Benno and Dean Jacobson right behind them. Then Jeremy Washington and Kyle Ridley on row 3 ahead of Mick Polly and James Salhani. Dean Powell and Mitch Curry rounding out the top 10 just ahead of Aaron Schotter and James Bunker. We take a look further back through the field. Aaron Gilbert and Wiley Blair on row 7 ahead of Ryan Palmer and James Lawrence. Then Ryan Taborski and Ian Ward will line up ahead of Luke Patton and Josh Harris to round out your top 20. Aaron James and Matt Bakir ahead of Luke Hayden and Lee Keldulis. Then Dan Merko and Nathan Bowman have slotted themselves in ahead of Charlie Milliken and Simon Caplet, with Dylan Thomas and Trev Mortimer just behind them. Ronald Long and Nick Clydesdale lining up in 31st and 32nd ahead of Henry King and Chris Lashbrook. Then Martin Lipsky and Patrick Frame, 35th and 36th. Your safety car drivers tonight, Pete Manette and Nathan Allen, getting in there for us, which we appreciate as always, gents. Always good to have a manual safety car, because it does make a big difference. Look,
yeah.
You know, you
I mean,
never
Formula
know.
1 has 2 safety cars, but only one safety car driver.
Now,
They'll
to be
switch into,
fair,
but-
I have seen a manually operated safety car crash in iRacing, and you've seen it in the real world as well. Not so long ago, the BMW, I believe, going into the wall. I'll have to find the reference.
Oh, I've seen one too in Long Beach with Indy cars, and with a GT3 going straight into the fence out of the final corner. So yeah, causing a wreck with the cars behind.
Yeah, it's not ideal, but it can happen. And so we're hoping we don't see that tonight from our manual safety car drivers. Thankfully, they are pretty experienced, and so I don't think we'll have too much to worry about somehow. We wait now for the drivers to grid up. We'll be ready to go in just a moment. Here we are, green flag waved at the back of the field. Starters orders are in, and we are going to the lights. look for the start here from Danny P and Reese Wakefield jumping away out in front. And all of them, Mitch Curry already making contact, everyone fighting for position very, very early on as we get underway here for race number 1 this evening. Coming down the hill, we are 3 wide, 4 wide. This is going to be absolute chaos, I'm sure. Keep your eye on the background, see if everyone does make it through here. It's a wide track, but not wide enough to get that many cars through in one piece unless everyone is absolutely on their best behaviour, which tonight it seems like we are. As we get underway, Reese Wakefield already starting to establish a little bit of an open lead there in front of Danny P. He's managed to get the pace happening. We are still side by side, Kyle Ridley and Dean Jacobson, side by side as we come down for the first time to the end. Sorry, just watching Chris Jacobson there having a bit of a moment. And keep your eye on the background because the corner there, you go just slightly outside the line and you will find yourself off in the dirt. It's a very, very unsteady corner. Biggles, a pretty clean start, all things considered. But yeah, James Lawrence, the only one so far that we've seen that's had issue so far on lap number 1.
Yeah, exactly. He's the only unfortunate victim so far of a stacked grid. Of course, that's not too bad considering it's Road Atlanta as well. Road America, my apologies. And Jeremy Washington's up 1, Carl's up 1, so they've managed to clear out the shenanigans that was going on in the first couple of corners. But I'll tell you what, right now, Dean is putting some pressure on the back there of Carl. That's a battle currently in P5.
Yeah, plenty of pressure there, but Kyle Ridley doing a stellar job up into 5th at this point. So only up 1 position from the start, but he's established himself pretty nicely at the start of that pack of races. We're going to keep our eye up the front here, of course, as the front 4 start to pull away. Jeremy Washington hanging on to the back of Wakefield, Coulton, and of course Josh Benno in that blue Porsche. And here come the rest of the field. James Alhani's still in there. He's down 1, but still in P9. And so far so good. We cross the line and we are into lap number 2. A very, very quick start for Reese Wakefield out in front, straight into the 211s. And the clean air out in front, as always, benefiting those who can get to it.
Getting a bit of a gap forming at the front as well, too, all the way down to Kyle in the P5 position, as Chris Lashbrook has gone off the track a little bit further back, but so far so good at the front at the moment. Lap 2 of 13, 12 to go. Drivers are pushing it, as I said, that big gap that's formed at the moment there. Already from the top 4, broken away.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's just indicative of how quick those 4 have been all season, really. We keep our eye here on Nathan Bowman. Oh, big send there from one of the Alpine Pro. That's Matt Bakir, I believe, that's just gone straight into the back of Nathan Bowman. So Bowman finds himself off track and he's going to have to recover that. I'm sure Race Radio lighting up right now. We'll jump forward to Kyle Ridley, who's ever so slowly watching Jeremy Washington pull away in front of him. So a bit of work to do yet, but he does need to keep an eye on the mirror because right behind him, Dean Jacobson, again, very quick in practice, not quite so fast in qualifying, but we'll see how he goes out on track here. Mick Polly's in there as well, who we know is fast on just about any day in these GT3s. But right now, Reese Wakefield out in front and looking, you've got to say, fairly comfortable for such an early period of the race here.
Yeah, Danny P's got to hunt him down at the moment because they switched to his position. Of course, Danny P put it on pole there. Reese Wakefield got the jump on him early in this race and started to build away the gap. There was that little moment there between Matty and Norman. I think they might have come together there. They might have got involved in Dylan Thomas as we go off the track.
So
safety car has been deployed. Wow.
I suspect that'll be something to do with Dylan Thomas's issue as you see him jump to the pits. Let's go back and take a look and see what's happened to the poor fella. He's ended up well off track there. I wonder what sort of damage. Actually, the rear end of that car is struggling. It looks as though he may have broken an axle or something similar.
Absolutely.
In amongst that, and I think he may have even got caught up in the incident with Nathan Bowman earlier on. Here he comes around there and just
that's the incident that I was mentioning. Oh, that's the reason why these cars aren't made to do jumps like that.
No, they're not.
Snap the axle.
I think the damage might have actually come from was it Nathan Bowman or Matt McKeer coming back on track, has hit them. If you watch the right-hand side of Dylan Thomas here again, he gets hit at almost 90 degrees by Nathan Bowman there.
Yeah.
And look, he launches it, and they're not made for it, but I think the damage was already done by that point. That rear right, looking very, very unhappy. Keep your eye here, though, on Matt McKeer, who set it all off. Just way too deep under brakes, straight into the side of Nathan Bowman.
Yeah.
And that was never going to work out. And then, of course, Bowman just collects.
Don't move, my friend. That's the reason, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, cats and dogs out there, if you're watching this, when you get into an incident and there's a lot of cars that are coming around the corner ready to see you, you stay still, you stay predictable. If they slam into you, they slam into you. But when you're moving, it's very difficult for anybody to judge where you're going to be.
Yeah, and you also don't have fantastic visibility out of these cars. That's assuming, of course, that you've actually got any way to see in the first place. Now, it'll depend on the driver's setup. A lot of these guys race with triple screens, so they do have a fair field of view. Some of them race in VR. I know I certainly do when I'm in the car, so it's a lot easier to look around in VR. But if you're on a single screen, it can be very, very easy to just not have any way to actually see which cars are coming in. Although you do have your relative screen that can show you just how far off the next car is, you can never predict just where exactly they're going to end up on the way through the corner. And in this case,
I'm racing on my phone.
Well, yeah, racing on your phone. Why not? Why not? In this case, unfortunately for Dylan Thomas, where he's ended up is also right where Nathan Bowman's ended up, and it looks like it will have done quite a bit of damage to his car as he waits it out in pits, probably still towing actually. It is a long tow back to the pits on this track, so I don't know that he'll actually be getting his repairs underway just yet. As we make our way around behind the safety car driven at the moment by Nathan Allen.
Oh no, he's coming out. He's coming out, so he has got the repairs.
There we go. Okay, he's got the repairs done, so he is out on track again. That's good news. Good to see.
Yeah, you can never know if there's going to be another caution that comes out there and a whole bunch of cars get wrecked up and they go zooming on by and all of a sudden he's in P20. You never know, right? But it does show you at the moment that the top four that we're pulling away, now we'll pay a bunch, so we're going to re-rack and restack it, and we get to do it all over again. Now, this is going to be Danny P's opportunity to try to get it past Reese Wakefield this time around.
100%. You know, he didn't have the start that he was probably hoping for. And, of course, Reese Wakefield, we know, absolutely launches that Acura. Of course, making the very most of that. But this has given Danny the chance to get right back onto Reese's tail. The question will be, can he stay with Reese at the jump, or is Reese going to just run away with it as he approaches the go zone closer to the home straight? The thing with Road America, it's one of those tracks that really magnifies the restart of a safety car because you've got that massive uphill just before your start-finish grid. And that is going to really amplify any slight differences that you might see in the restart speed of these drivers, because it is a deceptively steep hill that they have to make their way up.
Now make sure that you get your upshifts all perfectly timed.
Absolutely
see
right.
That pace car's going to be peeling in, heading down the start-finish straight.
We'll wait to hear. We haven't heard anything at this stage from race control.
No,
I suspect
it hasn't peeled in. It'll be one more lap, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it does look like it's going to be another lap, and that's probably to allow Dylan Thomas to get back onto the back of this group. But we shall see. We'll make our way down the straight once more. And yeah, look, it's not the way you want to go around Road America. It does make these laps a whole lot longer, of course, doing them under safety car. But it's still going to be a lot quicker than the AI safety car with iRacing, of course, isn't it, Pickles?
Yeah, exactly. Well, either they on the horn there, like they do in Formula 1, and say, hey, you know, get the safety car driver to pick up the pace a little bit. Because they're similar cars in this case, you don't have the downforce that you have in a Formula 1 car, where when they start going slow, they just literally have no traction whatsoever. It's just, you know, nothing but horsepower and no traction control, of course, Formula 1.
No, a whole different scenario, isn't it?
Beast, yeah. So who's our safety car driver at the moment? Is it Nathan Allen? Yes,
it is Nathan Allen. He is out on track enjoying a leisurely cruise around the Wisconsin circuit.
He just gets out there and plants his foot there and starts lapping everybody by 2 seconds a lap. He says, come on, catch up to me on the pace car.
Yeah, I suspect there might be some conversations to be had with the league admin if it was to do that, but I guarantee it's tempting because none of these drivers like going around a circuit at this kind of pace.
Is he sticking to a delta in? I'm just going to pop into the cockpit actually and have a look if he just sticking second gear.
He's maintaining a particular speed, and that does vary depending on the track, but usually somewhere around 90k an hour. Welcome back, Llama. Good to have you back in the chat with us. It's yeah, look, it's not a particularly quick pace, but of course you don't want to be going and causing too much of an accordion through the field as you go in and out of the turns as well. So it tends to be the sort of pace that is able to be maintained through every corner. You see some of the drivers weaving in the background there, of course, trying to keep their tyre temperatures up. You start to lose temps very, very quickly, even on a reasonably warm track like this. We're seeing temps of about 35, 36 degrees on track earlier in the session. The air temp, though, under 20 degrees, so that may be coming down as the day wears on. Beautiful conditions, you've got to say. No clouds around and no chance of rain, so I'm sure all these drivers are very, very happy to see that.
And no fog.
Well, no fog.
Yeah, so I was talking about that in the green room. It makes it it's a broadcaster's nightmare when we see fog because we can't see the fantastic liveries or even the cars. Of course,
you might get to see the lights occasionally if you're lucky.
You might see the lights. That's about it. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, what a day to go racing here in Road America.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful conditions, and it's these sort of race conditions that really give these cars the absolute best performance that they can. When you don't have to worry about the track being even just a little bit damp, you've got no clouds to worry about, not even a great deal of wind around today. It is an absolutely perfect day to go racing, and always a pleasure when we do base these events on real world weather. It's nice to see it lining up with what's happening outside your window if you do happen to be in the Wisconsin area. Which, hey, you never know where our viewers are coming from, right?
Oh, yeah, I've been there. I've been to Wisconsin a couple of times when I was living in Minnesota. Haven't been to this track, but unfortunately.
See, that just seems wrong. Just seems wrong.
Well, I wasn't heavily. I was only into Formula One at the time.
Yeah,
I was living in America. So I wasn't into sim racing and broadcasting, commentating, and all that sort of stuff. Of course, these days I would.
Bit of a different story.
Plus, we got IndyCar coming up with them off of May. The week of IndyCar,
of course, the Indy 500. The fixed Indy 500 ran over the weekend. There were some interesting results that I was seeing coming out of that. Quite a number of splits where there were only 2 or 3 finishes out of the 30 or 40 cars that started the race.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a treacherous kind of event to be racing in, and certainly one that I would much rather be in the virtual world than in the real world. Simply because the stakes are pretty high at 350k an hour in an IndyCar.
Oh yeah, it's dangerous. A lot of Formula One drivers. So Nathan is peeling in at the pace car. We're going to get ready to go green. Everybody's re-racked or restacked. So Henry King's joining the back, and then Dylan Thomas. So let's see. Dylan Thomas actually got past Henry King, so there might have been a switcheroo. Let's see if Danny P can do anything about Reese's fantastic restarts that he usually does.
Here they come up till there's Reese, plants the foot as he comes over the crest, and away we go again. Already Reese starting to open up that gap to Daniel Poulton, although Danny P crawling back into within 4/10 as they make their way down the straight once again. Probably not the jump that Wakefield was hoping for, but it's going to be enough for now to keep him comfortably in front as we watch the rest of the pack making their way through in the background. Take a look further back. You've got just in the background there, we saw James Salhani going up the inside of Aaron Schotter's Mercedes, and he's managing to get himself back towards his starting position. Did lose that position to Aaron Schotter. Here comes Schotter again up alongside as they make their way down the Moraine sweep towards turn 5. One of the best braking opportunities for a pass you're going to find anywhere on this track. This is always dangerous. They go side by side through turn 5 and then up the hill again. Salhani on the outside is going to have to struggle with the traction as he makes his way across the dirt there, and Schotter, keeping the inside line, is going to poke his nose out in front and retain that position. He moves up to position 9. Salhani relegated to 10th.
A bit of door banging that was happening there as well too. You got to do that, argy-barginess, but we do have a couple of drivers off track. Oh no, it's Chris Lashbrook that's
Mortimer
gone
as
off.
well has had issues.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's what's
And
done
he
it.
stayed still. He stayed still. That's exactly the textbook what you have to do. It's frustrating, of course, to allow all those cars to go through. But did you see how it allowed everybody the opportunity to go to the front and to the back?
Absolutely, as we see Mitch Curry now taking it to Salhani. Salhani's off the track, manages to recover. That is, of course, the very, very high-speed section through Canada Corner, where you can do it flat out.
4, 3 into 1.
Jeez,
Don't try it, gentlemen.
That's ambitious. It's not where I'd want to be looking at making a pass, but hey, give it a crack, boys. Why not? Yeah, Canada Corner is it's a scary part of the track, because these cars are absolutely capable of taking it at full noise if you set up the entry correctly, but it doesn't take more than a couple of mil the wrong side of that perfect line, and you will find yourself off the track or into another car beside you. Salhani's struggling now, dropping back to 14th as James Bunker makes his way past in the Vegemite livery. And the battles continue all around him. Josh Harris now looking for a move. I wonder if Salhani's perhaps copped a bit of damage here, because he is losing spots at a rapid rate. And Josh Harris now looking for an opportunity to make his way through and continue the battle further up. The gap behind Harris starting to close up, as well as Luke Hayden starts to make his way ever so slightly closer to the back of Salhani. We'll keep an eye on this for just a moment.
Yeah. Mick Polly just got past Dean Jacobson up into P6 at the moment with the yellow racing straps and the green 911 entry. Of course, he's in the Porsche as well, so you have to be with the 911 number. We did see Ryan Palmer just boxed into pit lane, so I'm not quite sure if Ryan Palmer had picked up some damage or something like that earlier, but he did like to get out of pit road there for number 16 entry.
Got a post-race investigation for the safety car procedures, so not sure who that is directed at this point, but it does look like we have some questions about whether or not the safety car procedure was correctly followed by at least one of the drivers. So that will come up in the post-race with race control. We'll have to wait and see just who that might impact. Aaron James just keeping an eye on Dan Mirko and Charlie Milliken in his mirrors as the field starts to stack up a little here behind Simon Caplet in the very French colours of the Caplet Motorsport Porsche.
Oh, chanté! Don't just babble off every French word to see if you can speak French or not. We'll get there. And, Danny P's putting pressure right now on Reese. So Reese is at the fastest lap on that last lap, but I'd have to say that it may get very much replaced by Danny P. Yes, it will. Danny P will get a 203.64. As he's starting to apply that pressure, he realises that we're getting about halfway through this race. So that's going to be very, very interesting to apply that pressure as he's starting to pull a little bit of a gap to Josh Bernard there in 7/10 down the road, 166 Porsche.
Yeah, still plenty of time left to get this closed down, and sure enough, Danny P starting to pull back just a few hundredths at the moment as he sits in the slipstream. He's going to get just a few extra K an hour at every opportunity. We'll jump back to James Bunker, who's now alongside Ryan Taborski. Now this is going to be interesting. Bunker's on the outside as they approach turn 5 here. Bit of pressure there from Taborski, just maybe giving a little bit of a nudge, but plenty of room given. Salhani's looking for an opportunity to capitalise here as well in the background. Bunker finds himself very, very wide. Not surprising that Taborski has sent him that wide. And here comes Salhani now up the inside, taking advantage of the loss of speed for Bunker. Bunker, though, still on the inside. Is there going to be contact? There is. Salhani, a big slide, well recovered. That's going to cost him a few positions, but it could have been so much worse. Right behind that, Dan Mirko, right up the back of Aaron James in the BPS Outdoors Motorsport Mustang. Putting a huge amount of pressure on plenty of these Race on Oz entries right throughout the field here tonight. As we take a look a little further forward, and Aaron Schotter hasn't managed to shake Mitch Curry. Curry right there. Drive-through penalty now for car number 22. So that will be for that incident that brought on the safety car. And car number 22, of course, Luke Hayden, which is an interesting one, actually. I'm not quite sure which incident it was that has brought that on, but a drive-through for Luke Hayden is going to send him well back from his position 15. as Shotter continues to try and hold off Mitch Curry
Luke
in behind him, and Aaron
Luke is
Gilbert
heading
going
up
as
pit
well.
road as well too, which is very interesting.
They'll be taking the drive-through now, you'd think.
Yes, that's right. Yep, absolutely. We did see Chris, unfortunately, is not having another great day. Chris Lashbrook has just gone off the track again, and he's struggling at the moment in that Ford Mustang.
Yeah, not what you want to see. He's had a few incidents today, and maybe just the setup not working for him tonight. It is, of course, something that is...
Josh is so cut off. Josh Bernard is flashing his lights a little bit frantically behind Danny P there. Not quite sure why, because he didn't get close enough that they would come into any collision. Maybe he's just flashing Danny P to say, hurry up and get the overtake done on Reese Wakefield, which is not an easy task, but that's...
No, it's just
not
make
quite
it sound
sure.
a lot easier than it actually is, isn't it?
Yeah, you get excessive blinking, you will get a drive-through penalty, my friend. Josh? No, I'm not sure. I've seen leagues do that before in the past, actually. Oh, Ryan has gone around somewhere, my friend.
He's had a big moment. You see him dropping down the timing tower. We'll go back and have a look at what's happened here. Taborski right on back. Contact there with Aaron James.
Yeah.
No, Aaron James further back. That was one of the ADHD entries. I'm wondering
Is he
if...
bogged? Ooh, no, he's not.
He's managed to get it moving again, so could have been worse getting it out of the but Aaron James did get caught up in that
Aaron
as
James
well.
just passed there. It's the pink machine. He did get in contact with them, all those ones separately.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at who it was that actually came past there. It did look to me like, it was Josh Harris actually getting tangled up initially with Ryan Taborski. Just a bit of side-on contact and enough to send them both rather sideways to start their evenings. A few moves throughout the field now, but
Is he going to see the Danny P? Last little late breaker. See the flashing again from Josh there for a second? I still don't understand why.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Flashing frantically there.
I
He's
wonder
not
if
being held up at the moment from Danny P because obviously it's just not close enough to get the overtake done.
No.
Josh Harris goes in the pit road.
So a couple of options, right? It could be a distraction technique. It could be that, I don't know, maybe he's been driving some open wheelers all weekend and has forgotten that he doesn't actually have DRS and that's just a button mapping issue. I mean, I don't know. Anyone's guess.
Push to pass.
Yeah, maybe. Danny P having a big look up the inside as he's closed that gap up, coming down into turn 5, gets good drive up the hill towards 6 and maintains that
as well,
space.
A little bit further back. Aaron Shutter there for the AWS Antique Motorsports. I think he might be just getting him, but Mitch Curry, Aaron Gilbert as well, too, putting massive pressure there. That's a nice little battle that's brewing on your screens. We've got another battle for P6 as well, too, Nick Polly and Dean Jacobson. Whilst Danny P still thinks about trying to get the OT done on his way through.
Further back through the field, Ronald Long and James Lawrence just going at it here. Lawrence getting through and making the pass in his Antique Motorsports McLaren, and now starting to leave Ronald Long behind a little, but plenty of distance to these guys up to position number 18, which is what our battle box is showing us. That is, of course, Dan Mirko a couple positions ahead. We'll jump forward again though, because Aaron Schotter, after making that pass on Curry is right back behind him, and he'll be looking to just see if he can find a way to sneak back through. It is a really tough track to pass on because it is so high speed through so much of it. There are a couple of really good braking zones, and Curry's got a beautiful exit there.
I think Danny P's going to go for the lead here at the moment, my friend. He's going to almost get side by side as he's braking the air, but no, he'll have to tuck him again.
You know what?
Just couldn't quite get the exit. He got a good exit actually on the final turn, but just once you break that slipstream, you just punch in that air and it just bogs you down as Lico Leus goes in the pit road.
I actually think Josh Benno might be getting frustrated because the two teammates there in front, Wakefield and Polton, it would be so easy for Danny P to sit in the slipstream and actually close the gap further. I do wonder if he's popping out to the side to actually make sure that he doesn't go too quickly. So he's actually getting out of the slipstream. As you see, Danny P is backed right off here.
Yeah, he has.
Is that a slowdown somewhere that he's picked up? That's a huge gap he's dropped back.
Not significantly. I didn't see a major mistake at all. But it will bring him into the clutches. Maybe he wouldn't be slowing down at the moment
bizarre.
because they're not teammates with Josh. Josh is going to be getting the slipstream from him now.
The only thing I can think of is that was a slowdown.
Yeah.
Because that made no sense for that sort of gap to actually open up where it did. Plenty of people coming in and out of the pits here, which is interesting because we've only got a few laps left. So I'm assuming just a little touch of fuel, perhaps. Maybe people just underestimating the fuel loads. Like, take a look at those pit box times: 5.2 for Trev Mortimer and 5.5 for Simon Caplet. Just very, very quick stops. I'm not sure if that is just in for a quick repair or what the case may be. But in any case, Wakefield again starting to open up that gap to Danny P. This is really odd. I don't know what's
running out at the
here.
moment for Danny to probably get down there and close that gap there to Reese. Reese has got that now almost 2-second gap there over Danny. So Danny might have to be contemplating right now what he can do for the next race coming up. But that's interesting, those other drivers too. You're giving away a lot of track position by heading down the pit road and bonking yourself back in the 30 plus positions. So that's very interesting. I know Ryan Palmer did take a pit stop way earlier on lap 5, and he's back out on P25. Oh, we have a caution. Yes.
I'm not sure when that safety car's been called, but it has. Looks like it's just actually occurred as they made their way around to the pit straight. It's only just
Thomas,
happened
moving
in time there.
Ryan, I'm looking at, just trying to see Lee.
We've had a few cars coming off the track in the background, but I don't see anywhere that would have caused that. We've got an incident for Henry King some way back, but it does look as though we might go back to this one. Henry King going off track. I'm wondering if this has actually caused a whole bunch of issues behind him.
Oh, there's a lot of movement going on there too.
Contact with Dylan Thomas, comes across, barely misses Nathan Bowman. So these two end up stopped on the track, and I think Henry King there struggling to get underway again, but he's managed to
get going, but perhaps there's a lot of damage in carbon fibre and kid litter kicked up all over the track. They might have like too dangerous.
So here's the other incident. This is Ian Ward and Simon Caplet who've come together. I'm just trying to find exactly what has set that one off, because that's happened.
It
on
could have also
entirely
been
different
the fact
part of the
that
track.
I'm not sure if the race leaders were approaching that area soon as well.
There it is. Caplet just has contact with Ian Ward. Oh, big moment, and very lucky for the Race on Oz car to get through there without major damage. And it looks as though it might be Simon Caplet who has just had too much damage to continue at that point. Not what we'd like to see. But two separate incidents, both happening at a very similar time in a very similar section of the track. You actually see Dylan Thomas coming through there post-damage with his collision further back, but it's happened in a very similar section of the track. It's a very, very fast part of the track as you come out of the carousel, turns 9 and 10, and then you run down through 11 and 12 through the kink, through Canada Corner. A very, very high speed, very wide section of track. In fact, you can see as these drivers make their way through it right now, plenty of room for people to try things on, try some different lines, and so as a result, when accidents do happen, the damage tends to be fairly significant, you'd have to think.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get my head around why it was called, because the cars ended up getting moving. You can see them at the moment too. They're all bunched up exactly where they are. We might be going looking for another lap of the pace car. However,
the pace car is trying to get back to the pits.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get my head around where the drivers were when that was called. I think they were just coming out of turn 1, our race leaders, so they were quite a bit away I would imagine you would call it if, of course, the race leaders were coming close to approaching the scene of the accident, the scene of the crime, and then they would have unfortunately had to take avoiding action. It could have been a worse wreck. But we're green flag racing again.
We absolutely
Reece
are.
Wakefield still is the lead.
And just a couple of laps left, a huge sprint here. Danny P immediately straight back on Wakefield's tail. And keep your eye on the background because Jeremy Washington's looking for an opportunity. In fact, he's actually made the move up the inside of Josh Benno, pushes up into P3. Benno just not getting the pace he needs. Benno goes to the inside to defend hard against Kyle Ridley, who's looking to come through behind him, almost side by side as they make their way through turn 3 down towards the Moran sweep. And Kyle Ridley losing the opportunity there, needs to be careful because Mick Polly is right on his tail. The front 5, front 6 in fact, all very, very closely locked right now. Josh Benno has the run again on Jeremy Washington. They're side by side. Benno goes through. Washington drops a section. Kyle Ridley comes through. Washington sideways, but the contact with Ridley puts him the right way. Mick Polly's stuck behind him. That was a close one. We almost had an absolutely massive incident, but somehow they've all managed to bump each other back the right way. And now the battle is on for P4 behind Jeremy Washington. Josh Benno getting a beautiful bit of breathing room after that incident, and the train of cars from P4 all the way back to about P15 is absolutely massive. So keep your eye on that because every chance that we are going to see a collision occur that takes out half the field here if they're not careful.
I'm just wondering if Jeremy Washington is really fighting tooth and nail. I mean, he has the championship lead by 18 points going into this round, but with Reece Wakefield in the lead, that's going to shrink that a little bit. And look at the carnage just happening behind them with Dean, Aaron, Mitch Curry's all in the mix. I think these drivers realise this is the last lap, but this is good positions for them to start a reverse grid here. It could all go pearl-shaped if somebody gets it wrong here.
Absolutely can. Dean Power right now controlling this pack, but he's alongside Aaron Schotter, Curry and Polly in the background trading positions with Dean Jacobson in 10th, just hanging in there. It is all on for young and old. Mitch Curry again trying to hold his position. He's dropped back behind Jacobson now. And keep your eye on the background because that's Aaron Gilbert. We come up and over onto the final lap, and Curry's going to be side by side all the way down the straight here with Jacobson unless he tucks in, which he does, to just try and gain an extra couple of kilometres an hour as they come down towards turn 1. Jacobson, meanwhile, looking forward to Mick Polly, wondering if he can get a move done on the damaged Porsche. Curry up the inside, maintains his position, but only just over Aaron Gilbert as they make their way down from turn 2 through to turn 3. Again, tight braking keeps out in front of Gilbert. Plenty going on here, Biggles. I don't know how this is going to end up, but it is going to be tight as we make our way towards turn 5.
Yeah, an opportunity here for Mick and Dean going for it tooth and nail for the 8th and 9th position. I think they're going to fully commit to this corner at the moment. They're going to be door banging. They're going to go side by side. Maybe Mick might just have his nose ahead at the moment, but then you're going to see Dean come back on this one. He's going to stick it to the middle of there and make it very defensive. Force Dean to go around the outside. Going to be running a little bit out of time right now. There's only a handful of high-speed corners coming up left to complete this final lap of our first heat race with Reece Wakefield. Probably at the moment not enough for Denny P to attack and take that race win.
We'll keep a close eye on it as they do get closer and closer to the end, but it is a long lap and plenty can still happen. The front runner's not quite 70% of the way done on this final lap. We'll check back in there, but it does look as though Reece Wakefield's going to see this one up. Mick Polly goes very, very wide, somehow keeps the foot in it, gets back on track and gets alongside Jacobson. Curry now looking to split them.
Speed that Curry come through there as well too, but where can he go at this point? He can't go to the right, it's not clear.
He is absolutely saying,
not clear right, not clear
to the
right.
back of that car.
Yes.
This is going to be a massive incident if they don't get it tidied up. As it stands though, he makes it through. Jacobson drops back. Now we jump forward because as they come around the final corner,
Reece is making a final
Danny
push.
P
I think it's going to be enough.
is right there. Reece Wakefield's going to hang on. And that'll be the win for Wakefield, but only just over Danny P. Josh Benno comes through in third. Danny P sets the fastest lap on that final one at 2:03.6. Very, very fast. Have a look at this. Curry doing everything he can to get the line. Side by side, the two BE cars. Nothing in it. Absolutely nothing in it. Wiley Blair only .021 behind Dan Merco as they come across the line. What a finish.
Yeah.
What a finish.
Yeah, two drivers, 93 thousandths of a second from Danny P from Reece Wakefield. And then, as you mentioned, going further back to Wiley there, 21 thousandths of a second there to Dan Micro. And of course, you saw that little shootout there with Mitch Curry trying to take it to Mick Foley across the line of 8th and 9th. This is going to be a precursor to what should be a fantastic feature race coming up.
Wouldn't it, Justin? We've got Reese Wakefield joining us now in the booth as he makes his way around to head back to the pits. Reese, honestly, I don't know if you saw much in the mirrors, but mate, you were very, very lucky to be out in front here tonight, I think, because there was so much going on behind you.
Yeah, fortunately for us, we had a couple of drivers in that mid-pack, and by the sounds of it, it was chaotic.
Yeah, look, chaotic would be a bit of an understatement, I'd say, but you know, all's well that ends well. No one's died here, as they say. So, you know, could have been worse. But for you out in front, how much conversation was going on between yourself and Danny P? We were a little bit mystified as to why he wasn't making the move when he seemed to be all over you for a whole bunch of laps there.
Yeah, there was a lot of chats between me and Danny. We were pretty happy with where we were. It was like Imola all over again. Because it's getting so much later into the season now, we have a championship we need to think about. So there's a couple of people we are trying to be ahead of, and as long as Danny and I can get 1-2, doesn't matter if he wins or I win, as long as we can stick ahead of the people we need to be ahead of, then we're pretty happy with that.
Which is JW, who finishes in P4. Quick question, did you see Josh flashing his lights down the road?
No,
P3
not at all.
Yeah.
To be honest, the only thing I saw was a purple Acura in my rear vision mirror. That's about it.
Look, a very, very solid race number one here tonight. So got to be pretty happy with that, Reese. Congratulations on taking the win, and we'll let you get back into the pits and get set up for race number 2, hey?
Thank you. Hopefully race number 2 goes better than the last couple I've had.
Well, mate, fighting through from position 10, your work's going to be cut out for you. Best of luck.
Yep, thank you.
Reese Wakefield there, finishing up in P1 for race number 1, and as he makes his way back to his spot in the pits. I think there'll be a fair bit of conversation to be had there. We're still waiting, actually, on a couple of the last drivers to finish out that race before we get our results come through, which is a bit unusual. But here is how they've finished up in race number 1. Reese Wakefield taking the win and the full points, just barely ahead of teammate Danny P. Josh Benno finishing in 3rd with a couple of extra seconds behind him to Jeremy Washington. Then Kyle Ridley coming home in 5th ahead of Dean Powell. Aaron Schotter and Mick Poley ahead of Mitch Curry. Then Aaron Gilbert rounding out the top 10. Dan Mirko, Wiley Blair, James Lawrence, Charlie Milliken and Ronald Long all netting themselves some decent points as well, with Martin Lipsky, Ryan Palmer and Matt Bakir just making it onto our final screen. A pretty tidy finish, you'd have to say, for race number 1 for Antic Motorsports, really hanging on to the top steps of the championship right now, aren't they?
And more importantly for Reese, it's just halved the lead that Jeremy Washington has over him now. So it's only 9 points difference between them.
Yeah,
which would be very, very interesting going, give or take nine or so around that figure. But absolutely, that's something that he needs to do to chip away. Of course, you heard from Reese before himself. You know, they've got to be thinking of the championship here, and as a team, they're thinking of that as a championship with him and Danny P. Then to them, doesn't matter who finishes. Well, it might come down to the last race. You know, if one of them has to finish. Well, if Reese has to get a couple of points, I'm sure Danny P's going to do whatever he can to allow Reese to try to win the championship and steal that one from Jeremy Washington. But we are still a little early days. But at this point, you are going to think every little point is gonna matter, especially when it comes down to the final race.
Yeah, and the thing to watch here in race number 2 as we go for double the distance, 26 laps, the reverse top 10 grid, Wakefield's going to be starting almost immediately behind Jeremy Washington. Will actually be behind Josh Benno if my numbers are any good. And so there's an opportunity there. If Benno gets a bit of a jump on Washington, we know Wakefield is very fast off the line in that Acura. There's every chance that at turn 1, Washington and Wakefield are going to be battling hard. And I expect that that'll continue for the entire 26 laps. The real question will be, what's the strategy that we see in terms of pit stops here for race number 2? We saw Washington pull off a one-stopper last time around. I've got to wonder if he's going to try that again. You know, particularly here at Road America, lots and lots of opportunities for fuel saving. You know, a lot of straights where you can just make the decision to get out of the accelerator early and coast it down the hill. I reckon there's an opportunity here for Washington. The problem is he's already played that particular song before, and I suspect that Antic Motorsport have been having a bit of a chat about that ahead of this round as to what their strategy is going to look like. I wouldn't be too surprised to see them considering something similar.
Yeah, they've got the cars in the right place as well too to do that defensive. You can't obviously count out Josh too. He's third in the championship. He's going to be fighting tooth and nail, so he's going to be a spanner in the mix of that as well. But Reese Wake, going back to that one, sorry, Jeremy Washington is a bit of a strategy mastermind, so I'm sure he's going to be holding some cards up his sleeve.
Always does. So don't count Jeremy Washington out just yet. The other one to keep an eye on in this race, Aaron Schotter, another Antic Motorsports entry. He'll be starting a little bit further up the field, and I wonder if he'll be playing a little bit of interference for his teammates further back. Meanwhile, Aaron Gilbert from Team Jinx and Mitch Curry will be starting on the front row, so an opportunity for them to extend and hopefully hang in there, get themselves a nice, tidy start to race number 2. We will take a look.
Yeah, it'd be good. Yeah.
We've just heard that if Reese wins the championship, he has to do a shoey.
All right.
I'm gonna throw it out there. What is the Australian obsession with drinking beer from a shoe?
Oh, champagne.
Champagne, I suppose. To be fair,
any beverage,
any old beverage
of choice, but it has to come from a sweaty shoe. Yes.
I don't know. I just don't get it. I don't know.
Blame Daniel Ricciardo for making that a meme, essentially, around the world.
Look, it's all in good fun at the end of the day, and I'm here for it. I'm glad to see that Wakefield's got his camera sorted for us, because it means we'll catch every bit of that if it does come to pass that he ends up winning this championship. Looking forward to it, not going to lie. We have about 15, 20 seconds left before the drivers start to grid for race number 2. So,
you notice that no drivers went out on the track during the practice warm-up session, so...
Yeah, very quiet. Very quiet.
Yeah, I think it's just like getting all ready. They know it's going to be a tough race, so, you know, getting up, doing the driver relief breaks and that sort of stuff, getting a bit of hydration, getting ready. Because you'll be sitting in that sweaty cockpit for a good grueling amount of time in the feature race, and of course concentration levels are going to be through the roof. So you start to get a little bit mentally exhausted. You've just done a heat race, now you get it all over again in a reverse grid, top 10.
Absolutely you do. So if you're wondering if you need to go get yourself another drink at home, this is the time to do it, because we're about to kick off race number 2 here, the Domains2U GT3 Championship, round 5 at Road America, and Aaron Gilbert takes pole in the reverse top 10 grid with Mitch Curry alongside him. Mick Polly and Aaron Schotter ahead of Dean Power and Kyle Ridley, then Jeremy Washington and Josh Benno will be doing everything they can to hold off Danny P and Reese Wakefield. The two Antic Motorsports Acuras will be nipping at their heels right from the word go here this evening. And the rest of the field, of course, starting in their finishing positions from race number 1. We will go down to the grid in just a moment, but grab yourselves a drink, get yourselves a bit of relief if you need it, because, of course, we are going for 26 laps here in race number 2. We'll go down to the grid now and wait and see just how long our drivers do take to get themselves sorted. Probably about another 2 minutes yet, folks, so if you do need to take a break, this is the time for it. While we wait for this to get underway, we will go quickly to a word from our primary sponsor.
Struggling to get your business online? At Domains2U, we make it easy with fast domain registration, powerful web hosting, and top-tier security solutions. Protect your data and customers with premium security features like domain privacy and SSL encryption. Find the perfect domain name and get online in minutes. Get started today at domains2u.com.au.
Welcome back, folks. Still a minute to go here. The drivers starting to get gridded up. And as you said earlier, Biggles, really interesting to see none of the drivers making their way out onto the track for the 5-minute warm-up between races tonight. I wonder if Road America just takes it out of you a bit. I know it certainly does for me when I'm out on track. It's a tough course at the best of times, and in this field, I reckon there's a few of them that are probably feeling it a bit after race 1.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to be really looking forward to Reese Wakefield, of course, second in the championship in P10, and Josh in P8. He's third in the championship. Jeremy Washington P1 in the championships and P7s. How the hell can I handle into the tight right-hander of turn 1 is going to be super, super interesting. And of course, if you navigate that, you've got turns 2, and then you've got your sweeping left-handers. It's going to be very, very interesting. Of course, in a feature race too, you don't want to be taking each other out, but they are. Knowing that if they can get ahead of the other driver there, they're going to have that little one-up on them. And of course, a little bit of bragging rights early in the race. So that's will be interesting. Of course, you can have contact and they can be taking each other out. They might have to battle from the back of the field. Who knows? Nothing at the moment that Aaron Gilbert and Mitch Curry need to worry about because they're going to be starting on the front row.
Yeah, that's where you want to be, wherever possible, just so that you've got no one to worry about out in front. We are just about to go racing here. The green flag being waved at the back of the pack. So we are getting ready to go here. 26 laps of Road America. The rolling hills of Wisconsin call our name once again. And here we go, folks. Hang on to your hats. Aaron Gilbert looking for a top start if he can get away with it. But keep your eye on positions 9 and 10, Danny P and Reese Wakefield. As we go green, we are underway once again. We pull away and immediately you see Danny P looking to split Jeremy Washington. And oh my goodness, it's hard to see from this shot, but Danny P and Reese Wakefield immediately moving up through the pack. Oh. Huge incident in the background. That's Nathan Bowman that's gone around. We've got plenty of cars involved in that one, and we are absolutely, I'm sure, about to see a safety car come out. That is a massive incident to start this race off. Everyone pushing so hard off the line as we head down through the rest of the field. I'm waiting to see. I'm not seeing it. They are. I'm not seeing at this point the safety car coming out. It may be, though, that what we've got is a virtual safety car being called. I'm a little confused as to the.
It started on what had happened is that who was it again? It was Aaron. No. It was. I'm trying to find
Patrick Frame, I think, was the first to go into Nathan Bowman, wasn't he?
No, it's a third place championship. I'm all kerfuffling everything at the moment, but our third place man in the championship just bogged down off the start, went very, very slow, stuck to the right-hand fence, and then everybody's just trying to navigate around that. Of course, a slow car when you're trying to get up to full speed is always very difficult, and of course they're all shuffling around. Patrick Frame just goes off track as well, too, under these. Well, we are in racing conditions, aren't we? So
we are still green.
That's what
we are still green, which is honestly a little surprising. But there it is. There's the safety car call. So the safety car has just been called, which means that
we've got it because they're all over the place.
Yeah, that's
Josh. Well, that's weird. It looks like Josh was going. Has Josh just managed to regain? I don't know if you'll have a look at the restart of that one, but Josh looked like to me bogged down completely, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's go back and we'll take a bit of a look at the start, because it was a very, very interesting one, to say the least. We'll see if we can get a bit of a shot. Perhaps taking a look at Mitch Curry. We see some early pit stops starting to happen here.
No,
that's
it wasn't
not
Josh.
surprising.
He was up the road. Who was that? Somebody was ridiculously slow, and then they had to take avoiding action. That's where it kind of caused the
Let's go back and take a look on the iRacing Designs replay. This is the start. So Mitch Curry gets away. Dean Power, Mick Poley. Yeah, you're right. It's Aaron Gilbert. Aaron Gilbert's had a shocker in the start. Mitch Curry's jumped away very, very quickly. But take a look at the two Antic Motorsports cars up the middle of Aaron Schotter and Josh Benno. And so while Curry's managed to pull away, the gains have been absolutely had very, very quickly by the two Antic Motorsports cars.
Yeah, Aaron Gilbert was on pole.
He was.
And just couldn't get it off the line, and then it just, and then there was argy-barginess, as everybody had to take evasive action. So he did the right thing. He stuck it to the right-hand wall as much as he possibly can, but it's not shifting. There's some sort of issue, and that's just literally, you'd have to say Aaron has calls well, of course, the other drivers got into each other, but the slower cars just caused frantic reactions for a lot of the drivers, and thus they had to react to it,
down
and
through
that's
the
why you
rest
saw a
of the
couple of
field, right? You can
crashes.
see him on the left-hand side up against the wall, and there's Patrick Frame, not Nathan Bowman
That's where
going
they
off
go
there.
around.
And then Ian Ward
Because
gets
they're
caught up,
accelerating and
Henry
they're seeing
King
a
as
slow
well.
car.
Yeah,
Yep.
just nowhere to go. I wonder if we can get a bit of a look at Aaron Gilbert. We'll see if we can find a good shot of him on the replay, just to get a feel for what happens here. Because watch the chaos around him. Gets a nudge from Dean Powell on the way through. He's really struggling to get it underway, but this is where everyone has to bunch up to make their way around him. They can't see him because there's cars everywhere in front. And as they move side to side, that's where all of the issues happen. Dylan Thomas gets on the brakes. Still, though, can't avoid Henry King behind him. Aaron Gilbert, a really slow start. That is very strange. I wonder if there's a hardware failure there that's caused some of that.
It's got to be, isn't it? I'm just going to have a geezer on the onboard inside the car there and just see if there's like revving or something. But he's in...
Truly one of the most odd starts I think we've seen in a little while. And then, of course, what's actually brought the safety car out is not that first incident, but it looks as though it might have been the end of that incident. It's a little hard to say from our telemetry, but we'll go back.
I was just looking at, he got stuck in first gear for quite some time. So he was sitting there and he goes up through the gears, but it's just wheel spinning at that point as well too. But he didn't bog down, he just could not change it out of first gear, got stuck in first gear, and that's
hardware failure.
That's what happened. Yeah, I'd say so for sure.
Here's the next issue that's actually brought the safety car on. Patrick Frame, with all of that damage from the earlier incident, gets himself all sorts of backwards, and then just a moment later, again on the brakes through the corner and just spins it again. And at that point, I think he's called it in.
Yeah, see it dragging in the back there. It's
that rear right is, that's destroyed.
What if that was already damaged before he went into the braking point? That's the reason why I went around.
Oh, absolutely it was. Yeah, that damage is from the early incident off the start line. Then he's carried that the entire way around. Yeah, we've got a whole lot of drivers.
We had over half the field head down a pit road and take that opportunity. Some of them to repair damage and some of them to fuel up there. From Dean Powell in 15th downwards, everybody's gone in to pit road. So it's only going to leave the remaining 14 drivers that haven't boxed yet.
Now, the important thing to note, the reason that happens, folks, if you're not familiar with it, there is no limitation on the actual amount of fuel that these guys can carry. But what there is a limit on the starting fuel that comes with the fixed setup that they all run. So it is absolutely possible for these drivers to go in on lap one and put a significant amount of fuel into the car. And we saw that happen. I believe Jeremy Washington went in on lap one last week, filled the car to the brim, did some fuel saving, and it ended up being an absolute strategy stroke of genius. He's done the same again this week. He's gone in on lap one, finds himself in 17th right now, but watch for Washington to slowly but surely make his way back up through the field.
Jared, would you like me to grab Aaron for a quick chat whilst we're in a caution? We still have half a lap to go. Bring him in here and just ask him what happened with the racing start?
Yeah, look, it's probably not a bad idea if you can get onto him.
I can do that.
While we're doing that, we'll
just drag him in, or just or ask him first.
Oh, look, we should probably ask the question. I suspect if you'd like to pop out and have a quick chat to him, Biggles. Meanwhile, we'll take a look through the rest of the field here, and taking a look at some of the other drivers that have actually already made their pit stop. Josh Benno has pitted on lap one there as well. So perhaps learning a little from Jeremy Washington last week, and then of course through the field as we look through some of the other names. Dean Jacobson's gone in on lap one as well. So plenty of people taking advantage of this safety car period to get that pit stop done, get the fuel on board, and in some cases quite a bit of fuel. Josh Benno spending 24 seconds in that pit bay before he came back out on track, as did Ryan Palmer. Jeremy Washington only 21.5 seconds in the pits, so not quite as much fuel taken on board. and I suspect that he's probably just had a bit of a look at what sort of fuel saving he's going to be able to do, and has decided that that'll be enough to get him to the end.
And I had a little spy in on the team jinxes there, so I had a bit of a chat there to Aaron, and he said that he just burnt the clutch off the start.
Wow, there you go.
So, yeah.
That is not something you see happen too often, but it is something that can happen here on iRacing. So something to be aware of. You can't just thrash these things and expect that they won't have simulated mechanical issues. I was going to say mechanical issues, but I'm sure someone would pick me up on the fact that there's no mechanics to
clutches are important, of course, because you have to, you've got to get that plate slammed in the gearbox. We're going to get ready to go because pace car's peeled in, which Curry in the lead.
Here we go, the restart. Curry has control of the field, and they are away and racing. Have a look at these guys as they make their way down the main straight. At full noise, all bunched up. You can see some of the cars weaving just to try and recover a little bit of heat in those tyres as they come down to turn one. Josh Harris up the inside, looking to make positions. Dean Powell sends it as well. He's looking to climb back up, and Josh Benno in amongst it also. Remember, a lot of these guys will have fresh tyres on because they will absolutely have taken a fresh set when they went to get fuel, because why not? It doesn't cost you much in the way of time when you're taking on so much fuel. Aaron Schotter, you see, looking up the inside there as well. He'll be looking to just move a little further up. Mitch Curry retains the lead for the moment, but keep your eye on those MC Motorsports Acuras. My goodness. 4th and 5th right now, both up 5 positions from the start. Probably helped out by some of those pit stops. Oh, big spin in the background. Big spin. That's Nick Clydesdale around from Southern Cross Racing. And huge contact. That's put him off into the kitty litter. We'll go back and see if we can tell what's happened here. Just under braking, comes across Josh Benno on the inside. I don't know if there was contact there or if he's done it to himself, but then that secondary hit from one of the other cars coming through has done a massive amount of damage.
That was Jeremy Washington, I think. So it was Jeremy and Josh were battling it out, as well as you just saw the spinner there. And that's just caused a bit, well, I was almost keeping an eye on them, of course, because, the first and third in the championship, they came together. Oh, Aaron is struggling at the moment. He's dropping down through the field. That clutch is cooked, my friend. He did go back into, he did go on a pit road. Maybe they tried to fix that, but that's pulling an engine out to get the clutch replaced. I'm quite sure they can get that done in time.
Yeah, not quite the same as swapping a set of tyres over, is it?
No. Oh, it's all happening at the front too, as Kyle's all bunched up on the back there. Mick was making a run there, and Mitch Curry, but he did cover it off. It's banked up there. Danny P and Reese Wakefield, once again, those Antic Motorsports drivers are going to try to work together, maximise points they have. They haven't taken the pit stop yet. That's the interesting thing, because Dean Power, Josh Bernard and Jeremy Washington all went down to that pit road, so we'll see how that pans out later on when these drivers at the front do have to go on the pit road.
Oh, Ridley setting the fastest lap of the race so far, but every day is still in the 2:05s for the fastest lap, so we'll still see another couple of seconds come out of that, I'm sure, as they make their way down once again through turn 3 onto the moraine sweep, heading towards turn 5. Kyle Ridley goes to the inside. He's looking to make a move now on Mick Polly. He's got the pace side by side. Ridley's going to find himself on the outside of turn 5. Can he get it done in time? Ever so slightly inching ahead. It might be enough. A big moment under brakes. Big wiggle. That's going to be just enough to give Danny P an opportunity to try and capitalise, but he maintains his position. Ridley now the nose just in front of Polly's Porsche as they come through the corner once again. Ridley door-to-door contact there. He finds himself on the inside for this turn. He's set up beautifully for that. Makes his way through, gets the pass done. Can he hold off Mick Polly here? He can. A really, really well executed set of corners there for Kyle Ridley to move through into second place. And he leaves Danny P and Reese Wakefield stuck behind Polly's Porsche for just a little while longer, but keep an eye on them because they'll be looking to follow it through as well. Mitch Curry, meanwhile, has benefited the most from that particular set of moves, extending his lead out to a little over a second and giving himself just a moment to take a breath.
Yeah, he'll be loving that battle that's occurring behind him, of course, because it will give him that time to have a bit of a breather and concentrate on just up the road there and just go absolutely flat out and get a bit of a brace. Might be a bit of a switcheroo between Reese Wakefield and Danny P. It has, so probably no doubt team orders between them. But I think you've got to be very, very careful as well too, because Kyle and Mick get into each other, then it could cause problems for them. They're thinking of the bigger picture in the championship, but of course they can't afford to be held up too much time there, because we've got to be keeping an eye on what Joshua and Jeremy's times will be a little bit later on those heavy fuel loads that we're running on.
Absolutely, you do. I suspect you're right there, Biggles. They will have had a chat, and Reese has probably said to Danny P, look, let me through, let me have a crack at Mick. I need to get moving. As Mitch Curry sets the fastest time, 204.598. So he's absolutely using everything he can in terms of that clear air out in front to extend his gap before he sees Reese Wakefield. I am sure filling the mirrors in not too long at all, but Mick Polly we know can defend. He's not the strongest in the field, but he's certainly up to it as he goes to the inside here and just breaks the draft a little bit for Wakefield. He's going to make this hard work. Wakefield's going to end up on the inside, though. If he's got even a slight bit extra pace here, and he does, that's going to be enough to put him on the inside as they come down to turn 5. Wakefield will be late on the brakes. Polly will go back and ends up losing a position to Danny P as well, because Danny P has made his way through in that move. Not quite done yet, but as they come around the next corner, Mick Polly will be on the inside now. He saw Kyle Ridley do this to him a moment ago, and Polly's replicated it to hold Danny P at bay for another lap. I don't think he'll be long as Danny P looks inside. That is an interesting spot to be taking a look.
Don't do it there, mate.
Jeez. That was going to be probably the boldest overtake of the night if he'd put it on. Here we go through the carousel. And this is one of the most frustrating corners I reckon I've driven on any track anywhere, Biggles. It is such a long turn, and you cannot get on the throttle. You have to just maintain your speed through it, and it feels so awfully slow, but the slightest bit too much speed and you are shooting off the track there.
Hence the carousel, you know, when you go on those carousel rides and they take a while to go around, but it's patience, and that's what catches the drivers off, isn't it? They want to get on that low paddle as loud as possible, but you've got to be patient there, and you get a smooth sail around the corner that never ends.
And it really doesn't. It just goes on forever and ever and ever.
Reese Wakefield's now putting a bit of pressure on Kyle Ridley. So once he got past Mick, he's now, all right, let's see if I can dispose Kyle so we can try to catch Mitch Curry up the road there, who isn't pulling that much of a gap anymore.
No, it's starting to close down, and sure enough, Wakefield takes the fastest lap at 2:04.1. So Curry's starting to realise that perhaps he's burning the tyres up just a little too soon, having to back it off just a little. And here comes Wakefield, a big look up the inside into turn 3. Doesn't execute it, but you can tell that he's sniffing for a weakness in Ridley's driving here. Question is, can he get it done into turn 5? This will be the next big opportunity. Mick Polly, keep your eye in the background there, because Daniel Poulton is about to try and make the same move. Polly's wise to it this time, though. Puts himself on the inside of this turn. It does mean, though, that he's going to find himself back on the outside in just a couple of turns' time. Thankfully, getting it done back in front of Danny P. Can he hold on to that? He's right where he wants to be right now. He'll be on the outside for this one. But can he hold it? He's actually taken too much pace out through that corner, and Danny P's made it through.
Yeah,
so that'll be it.
Yeah, so that'll release Danny to try to catch up to his teammate there, Reese Wakefield, who's still in the back of Kyle. Kyle's probably putting a little bit more pressure on Mitch Curry right now than anything, so... But Kyle's got to be looking forwards and backwards in his mirror. He's got to be seeing if he can get past. Best thing for him to do in defence against Reese Wakefield right now is to try catch the boss man, Mitch Curry.
Absolutely. It's a lot harder to pass 2 cars than it is to pass 1. And certainly, Ridley's got an opportunity here to potentially use Curry's car as a little bit of a block if Wakefield does start to make a move. But this track is just so wide. I mean, you can quite comfortably go 3 wide up most of that straight. It's really just the turns you have to get back into line a little more. And it's going to be tough for Ridley to hold on to here. He's all over the back of Curry.
4 wide, didn't we, on the start-finish straight?
Ever so briefly.
So briefly, yeah. These top 3 are starting to pull away from Danny, but I think Danny and clear out now will be able to get his head down and put some banker laps in. They're doing 204s and 205s. I'm just keeping an eye on Jeremy Washington's time back there and Joshua's time. They're doing 205s, but you got to remember they have a chunk of fuel on board there, so I can't imagine them doing fastest laps just yet. But here we go. Kyle and Mitch for the lead.
Side by side, Ridley around the outside is going to ask a lot of those tyres. Curry manages to hold it together, but he's lost a lot of pace with that little wiggle. Question is, can he hold off Wakefield? Because Ridley's got it done. He's out in front, and he will get the foot down. Now here comes Wakefield. Gets the inside line out of that turn, but again will be on the outside as they come to turn 5. It'll be a question of whether Curry gets enough pace from the slipstream of Kyle Ridley to stay ahead of Reese Wakefield. He's been pushed right to the line there. Wakefield giving him no room at all. Curry returns the favour, pulls back out into turn 5, and Wakefield's going to have to set up and try it again as Curry regains P2. And comfortably for the moment, hanging on to it, but I'll tell you what, there's not much in it. You can tell Wakefield is getting a little impatient and wants to just get a move on.
Yeah, take out the boss ban, you're going to get 6 months ban. No, of course. But you got to think sometimes, Mitch Curry's a lovely bloke, right? And I don't think he'd take any favouritism just because he's the boss and the owner of MC Motorsport. But you kind of like got to think at the end, sometimes when you're driving next to the boss man, you think, you would probably be a little less aggressive, wouldn't you, than other drivers? I don't know. I just think that's what would always go through the mind of some of the drivers.
Look, I will admit to on air that although it's not been in one of our feature series, it's been in the Thursday night MC series where things are a little less competitive, a little more light-hearted. But I have taken great delight in making life very difficult for Mitch Curry on a number of occasions. And making plenty of contact with his car when he does try to pass me. Inevitably, he always gets past. He's a much quicker driver than me, and I'm still here.
Problem,
so how bad can it be, right?
So fake news on that one.
Well,
that I was saying.
I've never tried it in a Monday night series either, though. That's a whole different kettle of fish, I suspect. Kyle Ridley just hanging in there. Mitch Curry, Rodman's tail, Reese Wakefield right behind them. Danny P closing that gap so quickly. This top 5 absolutely going at it right now. We'll take a look a little bit further back, though, because Josh Benno and Jeremy Washington have regathered a little bit after their pit stop. They're on the tail of Dean Power for Blackhawk Motorsport right now. Dean is the front-running car that has made a pit stop so far. So I reckon Benno and Washington quite content for the moment as long as they're holding a decent pace, and they are. They're running 205s, low 205s at the moment, so not too far off the pace of the front runners. But if they're saving a bit of fuel by doing it, they're counting on the front 5 needing to think about a pit stop sometime soon.
Probably send down the inside there from Joshua.
Makes it look easy, doesn't it?
Yeah. Now it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to feel whether or not Dean was holding them up a little bit on the pace as Dan Micro's going off the track somewhere as well. So they'll be on the back there of the 737 very, very, very soon. But I just wanted to see that it wouldn't in clear, kind of a little bit of clear air what Joshua and Jeremy Washington's pace will be.
Yeah, do they put the foot down or do they try and maintain just some consistency and keep in touch with the leaders' times? It's a big question, isn't it?
Yeah, because you've got to be thinking of the overall picture, how many more laps you're going to be continuing to do. And of course, if you're losing them approximately a second a lap to our race leaders, that's a lot of time to try to make up further into this race.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
If anybody would know how to manage those kind of gaps and stuff like that would be Jeremy Washington.
It would. It very much would be. Just trying to take a bit of a look at the moment as to just how big some of these gaps are likely to become. And bear with me for a moment while we do some quick numbers in the background. But you have to think that Josh and Jeremy here are keeping a very, very close eye on the gap ahead. As we jump forward, Mitch Curry doing everything he can to hold off Reese Wakefield. He is super defensive right now, taking it inside line. Wakefield and Danny P now right on Curry's tail as the gap starts to open up to Kyle Ridley out in front. Those Acuras, you can almost hear them screaming for blood at this point, can't you?
Yeah. Aaron Gilbert goes in, so he actually managed to go around the 20th or so place there. With that clutch burnt out, he's just got to jump into pit road again now for the second time, so I don't know if he's looking at getting anything fixed there, or is this actually like going to be a heavy pit stop there for fuel to take him to the end of this race?
You'd have to be thinking about it at this point. 10 laps in, 16 to go. That's a pretty good time to be considering a fuel that's going to get in there. As we see Wakefield finally make the move up the inside of Curry. Curry's in the right position, though, to maintain his position here. He's going to force Wakefield. Why? Wakefield off into the grass. He has to get it back under control. Curry is doing a phenomenal job of defending against the Antic Motorsports drivers. It really does feel like a question of how long, though, he can hold on. I wonder almost, though, if perhaps a few of these drivers have taken note from last week where one of the ADHD drivers, and I can't recall for the life of me whether it was Josh Harris or Ryan Palmer, I suspect it was Josh, that actually really took it to Wakefield in last week's race and really pushed him hard. I don't think we've seen that from most of these drivers. They tend to recognise that Wakefield is a very, very fast driver, and so tend to give him a little bit more space to make his moves. I think Curry may have looked at this and gone, yeah, no, actually, I'm going to make you really work for it this time.
Yeah, no.
And he absolutely is right now. Wakefield just cannot find a way past.
No, absolutely. And, well, Mitch Curry's doing absolutely everything he can to race him. And he's got the pace up there. I mean, you remember, too, he's 12th in the championship, and he wants to make his way up through the field as well, too, in that championship standing. So it only takes a couple of bad races for some drivers, and bang, all of a sudden you're close to the top 4 or 5. So we'll see how it pans out for him.
And again, you see Curry take the defensive line up and over the hill to force Wakefield to make a decision as to which side of the corner he's going to attack. And right now, Wakefield just not being given anywhere to go, so you can see him almost just sitting there now waiting for a mistake from Curry, because that's what it's going to take. Curry's defensive efforts right now have been almost insurmountable for the Antic drivers. It's going to be frustrating them, and Curry's going to be enjoying it, I'm sure. Danny
Washington's trying to get around Dean Powell as well, too, at the back there. He almost had a side-by-side run, but elected just to lift off at the moment, I think. Remember, these drivers are on a similar situation, too, with the fuel strategy. They're all taking those pit stops. He's going to try to go for it around now. Going to try to swing around the outside, which will could the undercut on the inside there. Try to force Dean to go off the track there, which exactly did. But where can he go around? Dean's placing that car in the right place to force Jeremy Washington the difficult way around. It's perfectly legal to do that. That's just a good defending move there from Dean. Will be frustrating Jeremy right now, and that'll be interesting because Joshua is starting to pull a little bit of a gap away from Jeremy Washington too, about 2-second gap. But more importantly, the gap to the leaders is now around the 13-second mark.
Yeah, and look, at this stage, I'd have to think Washington's not super concerned by that. You know, pit stop here is a little bit over a minute. You're talking about a minute 5 to a minute 10, although obviously the less fuel they need to take on, the less, as we see Curry and Wakefield side by side again. Oh, big moment there for Curry. Manages to hang on to it. He is doing a phenomenal job in that Mustang right now, but Wakefield pushing him to the absolute limit. You know, 13 seconds gap, not going to be what bothers Jeremy Washington right now, because a minute and 5 in the pits is going to eat that distance up. Here goes Curry into
Mitch
the pits.
Curry in.
Yeah, he's had enough of the pressure.
And you've got to remember, too, the situation. These drivers boxed under the caution, under the safety car, so they didn't lose any time essentially whatsoever. It's a free, cheap pit stop. Now, these other drivers, so you're saying like Mitch Curry stuff, they've got to go into the pit lane under green flag conditions, which means they'll lose a chunk of time. Because Mitch Curry's going to drop around that P20 place easily. I'd say not even further down.
Yeah, it's not going to be a particularly healthy spot. In fact, if my numbers are right, I reckon you'll see him drop to about 30th or 31st, which is a huge drop now.
And that's behind all these drivers that have already taken a pit stop as well, too, under that caution. So they might not necessarily need to go back in again.
I am honestly very surprised that these front runners didn't take the pit stop, because they cannot have enough fuel to make it to the end without making a stop at some point. And you've got to wonder if the strategy is going to have them undone here. The fact that safety car came out was just wrong timing.
Yeah. These other drivers that all went down, they all took 22-second pit stop stationary, so that's a full tank, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
To take you to the end. And as you said, you start the race on a less of a fuel tank. You can't just completely jam-pack your tank to go to the end of the race. You've got to, it's short fuel, so you've got to come in.
Yeah, you've got to do at least one.
If Josh is looking in the key spot, I'd say, for the 166 Porsche, that could be fantastic for him, the strategy. He's going to see all those 10 cars in front of him peel into pit road, and he's going to be P1 on that car.
And keep in mind, you know, Reece Wakefield right now, he's come off the pace a little bit as the tyres start to heat up, and certainly the battling over the past few laps won't have helped at all. But you know, he's not fuel saving at this point, so he's not thinking about making it to the end on this tank. He's got to be thinking at the moment, can I hang in there until another safety car?
That's what they're going to need, aren't they? Because even if they are lapping, you know, actually then they're barely lapping a second lap quicker at the moment anymore too. They're doing 205s. They're not doing the 204s too much. Joshua just did a 204 in the last lap, so he's actually cruising quick. Nick just did a 204, so now they're starting to do 204s. But so Jeremy Washington and Joshua, they were matching those times too. So that 14-second gap that Kyle has to, say, Jeremy Washington is just nowhere near enough. I mean, you said it's a minute and change for a pit stop. That's
with an incredibly expensive pit stop.
They can't make that minute gap in 14 laps at the pace that they're doing.
No, they absolutely can't. We'll go further back in the field because Aaron James finds himself under some pressure at the moment as well. He's got Charlie Milliken and Dan Mirko, the two Race on Oz entries for JTIT and BE Electrical respectively, who have been closing that gap ever so slowly but surely. Dan Mirko right on the tail of Charlie Milliken, goes wide into turn 5 just to try and open up, misses the apex though and struggles to get back on track. There's Josh Benno right behind him.
Yep.
So all of a sudden, you know, we're talking about Benno and Washington getting closer and closer to the lead. We're looking at the battle for 9th right now. And, well, battle for 8th, I suppose. Aaron James out in front. And Josh Benno is in it.
And he doesn't... The only problem with this right now is that that's going to, by catching these cars, it's going to bring Jeremy Washington back on his rear bumper. Once Jeremy Washington cleared Dean Powell there, he's got a bit of clean air and he can put some bank laps down there. But once Joshua has to start disposing of these cars. What Joshua's going to be wanting is to see the likes of Dan, Charlie, Aaron, Joshua up the road there, peeling the pit road so he can clear air and he can get on with it and try to keep Jeremy Washington behind. Because it's key for Joshua as well to win his championship. Remember, he's third. If he could take more points out of Jeremy JW, then he'll be looking good. And he knows he could potentially win this race because even though Reese Wakefield is up there in P2, he'll still have to get on a pit road.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll look a bit further back through the field. P21, Nathan Bowman is hassling along the two Porsches. Barely.
James comes in to pit road, so does Aaron. So that's exactly worked out perfectly for Joshua.
Watch him jump up through the timing tower there.
Yeah.
Up into
Sorry,
P7.
Dan was slammed almost in the back there of Charlie too in the pit road. I don't think there was too much contact, but yeah. So now he's got clean air. Now he can try to cover off Jeremy Washington that was starting to attack him. So this is going to be perfect for Joshua.
Washington's almost 2.5 seconds back now because he got caught up behind those other couple of cars. And look at the gap. You can see Washington off the back of the screen there, but Benno will be feeling very, very comfortable at the moment. However, he needs to keep that foot down because he still needs to maintain the gap to Ridley Wakefield and Danny P out in front, who incidentally are unchanged at this point in terms of their positions. But Reese Wakefield's still looking for a way past Kyle Ridley.
On top of we don't know if they've got enough gas to go to the end because that was, remember, it's only on lap 1 that they pitted and put a full tank in. So they might have to be fuel saving a little bit at the end. We don't know, but that's a possibility. And if they do,
and here's the thing, right?
To drop too much time.
The transit time of this pit lane is massive. You're talking around about a 40-second transit time. So even an absolute splash and dash to add 5 more litres is going to cost you 45-50 seconds. You jump
at that point you would fuel save, and at that point probably drop a second a lap easily to everybody else around you, just fuel saving. But it's still worth it, isn't it, for a
100%.
minute in pit lane?
100%. The pit lane here is massively long, and it's on one of the fastest straights that you're going to find anywhere on this track, with the exception of the Marine Sweep. So, yeah, you don't want to have to go back in a second time, and that's what Josh Benno and Jeremy Washington are going to have to be really careful of. At Kyle Ridley, Wakefield and Bolton, there's Ridley in. So Ridley's in, Danny P goes in as well. And I guarantee that Wakefield and Danny P have been discussing that. So Reese Wakefield, what can he do out in front all alone now? That's going to give him some clear air finally. Let's see what sort of laps he starts to put in. But here comes Josh Benno. Watch him fly past. So these guys haven't even made it to their pit bays yet.
Out of smile on his face, I bet you behind that helmet right now, realising that strategy has paid dividends for him. Jeremy Washington has a big smile on his face. I mean, he knows he's going to have a more smile on his face once he realises that Reese Wakefield's going to peel into pit road too, and he's going to get that position. And this is going to be a bit of a cracker there, but it's a bit of a what ifs, of course. Still, we're wondering, and if chat, please let us know if you are a racing driver and you've experienced how much fuel that these GTs will be able to put in there. Can they go to the end? And if they can't afford to go to the end, I mean, how much time can they afford to lose fuel saving?
We saw Washington do it last week. I don't see any reason why he couldn't do it again this week. but he's certainly not looking like he's taking it particularly easy at the moment. That
No,
said,
because it's the 204s now that their Cape, Joshua and Jeremy are doing. So
That
now they picked
said,
up the pace.
I do wonder. No, even I'm just thinking, you know, even if they were to follow Reece Wakefield into the pits and do a splash and dash run, they're still going to lose too much time to all those drivers behind them. Benno and Washington have to be looking at finishing this out after that one stop. Have to be.
Yeah, there's the podium's out the door for them if they have to go down a pit road right now.
Yeah, Lucas Baker, welcome to the chat. I may be just a tad late on saying hello, my friend.
Day late, dollar short.
Good to see
but
you
he
back
was a
in
day
here.
late, dollar short as well.
Yeah, look, we'll call it even, eh? The racing tonight has been nothing short of tense, as we've seen a number of pretty significant incidents causing safety cars and some very different strategies playing out. And we are going to see just how this does end up at the end of 26 laps. There's a bit to go.
Reece is making a final pit stop, so that
There
will
it
drop
is.
him. Where's it? It's going to drop
he's
him
only
probably around
just
pit
come in.
14.
He's only just come
Yes.
in. So it'll be interesting to see, and a good catch there from Lucas. Danny P getting out ahead of Kyle Ridley. They both spent almost identical times in the pit box. So Danny P at 20 flat, Kyle Ridley at 20.95. So that 1 extra second was just enough for Danny P to get out in the front.
Will Reece clear him now? That's going to be interesting. Will Reece clear and get out ahead of Danny P? Danny P is around. He's in the.
Here he comes
approaching
now,
the main
coming up
stretch
the hill.
now.
Kyle Ridley right behind him. Keith Logan in with us again tonight. G'day, Keith. Good to have you back. Reece Wakefield is on his way out of the pits. He'll be exiting onto the track right there. And here come Danny P and Kyle Ridley. Kyle Ridley's got him well and truly. So Wakefield ends up exactly where he was before.
Yeah, he did.
Danny P getting the jump through the pit lane, shaving that extra second off. Look, I think spending 20 seconds in the bay, he certainly shouldn't be under-fueled for the rest of this race. The real question is, those front runners, Josh Benno, Jeremy Washington, I mean, they're now 34, 35 seconds almost ahead of this group here.
And we get a nice battle for the Deans too. Dean County Jacobson. Sounds like a law firm.
Couple of Deans at it.
Yeah. And you've got to give the Dean Jacobson as well too for the B Electrical race on odds. 24 positions gain, and he's just one car away, just the other Dean up the road there from a podium. So that would be an absolute Netflix Drive to Survive series on that one. And he almost might have him there as he was plowing around the corner. A little error there from Dean Powell. Jacobson might have
high speed through this section, but Jacobson puts himself up the inside, and Dean Powell's going to try the over-under. He's not going to get it done. Jacobson just put down in that Porsche out of the corner. The Porsche's very well known for their exit speed, and sure enough, Jacobson has it pulling away from the Blackhawk Motorsport Mustang. Benno and Washington, though, much further up the road at this point. And you've got to wonder about the fuel situation. That's what we've got to watch from here on.
Joshua just did a 204.4.
He's not hanging
that's
around.
Not bad pace whatsoever. That's a little shy there off the fastest laps. So, yeah, I don't think there's any fuel saving going on right now in 166 or the number one.
Take a look now. Ryan Taborski, Luke and Nathan Bowman all caught up down the main straight. Hutton looking for the move around the outside. Taborski's got the inside run. Nathan Bowman's looking like he wants to split the middle of them. Bit of contact there.
Contact.
Can Patton save it? Just gets it under control, but into the wall. Danny P has just set the fastest time at 2:03.9. So he's pushing incredibly hard after that pit stop. First the drivers into the threes. Now Ryan Taborski survived that contact with Luke Patton. Can he hold off Nathan Bowman as we make our way down towards turn 5?
Tell you what, that could have been a scary moment if Danny P and Reece Wakefield approached that scene of the accident a little earlier. That could have been a chunk of points that they would have lost out to Jeremy Washington in that P2 position as well. After that,
Bowman forcing his way through. Side by side, the Porsches go. Keep your eye in the background for Dylan Thomas, the Fishy Motorsport entry. Nathan Bowman getting it done. We'll go just a little further back because Trev Mortimer and Chris Lashbrook getting caught up in it as well. We saw Trev Mortimer, the Mercedes, having a bit of a moment in race number 1. Hopefully they've got that back together here for race 2, so it looks in much better shape than it was after that coming together. And further back, Reece Wakefield and Kyle Ridley continue to battle it out. Question from Lucas: fuel at reserves for P1 to P10, 10 laps left. Was there a safety car to make it to the end? Well,
that's what we're contemplating as well.
Yeah, look, P1 through 11, Lucas, all pitted on lap 1 with a very, very early safety car in this race. In fact, half the field pitted lap 1. But you've got the quicker drivers in the pack, Danny P, Kyle Ridley, Reece Wakefield, we are watching right now, who all pitted around lap 14, lap 15, as you saw. Yeah, look, I reckon there's a real shot.
Trevi's in. Now, Trevi boxed back on lap 1. So this is interesting. Trevi Mortimer up there for the Rogue Racing team.
Yes, he decided he needs extra fuel.
Indicating that there might not be enough gasoline to make it to the end for these drivers, and that very question you're asking there, Lucas.
And that's the question, isn't it? I wonder how much those front runners, Ben and Washington, have managed to save, because they've been pretty consistently slower. Like, yeah, they're running 204s, so they're not going slow, but they're not running the low 204s or the 203s that we're seeing from this group. As Wakefield looks for the move on Ridley. Ridley's well positioned on the way down the straight again. Turn 5 is where all the action is here tonight. We say it almost every week, don't we, Biggles? There's always a corner where you want to set up the camp chair.
You get your cooler out there, a cup of cold water.
I reckon that's the one.
Popcorn.
I reckon that's the one. Turn 5 here at Road America. We've seen no shortage of challenging attacks coming through that corner. And this is looking like continuing. You can see up ahead, Lashbrook getting out of the way of Daniel Poulton as he charges on through. Here come Ridley and Wakefield. The question will be whether Ridley can use Lashbrook's Mustang to just hold Wakefield off a little bit. It's a very rewarding thing to do as a driver, if you can use a slower car to make life difficult for the car chasing you. But in this instance, it's Wakefield. I don't think he's the kind of guy that's going to be put up by that quite so easily somehow.
No, but he's got to be cautious as well too in that point, because he knows that there's no point in getting into any funny business here and crashing yourself further down the field here, especially when Jeremy's and Joshua, who's 2 championship contenders, are right up in P1 and P2 at this point. You're going to drop a few points to them, 9 or 10 points or something like that, but if you get into an incident, you could be dropping 20 or 30 points, and you don't want to be in that situation.
Lucas Baker reading my mind. I was actually just about to jump on board with Jeremy Washington to get
I've been on board for them for a little bit to see if they're fuel saving actually for you. And it looks like they might have been actually. I think Joshua might have done it in the last one. I'm just trying to...
Let's take a look at this. Washington's definitely pushing a fair way up the rev range at the moment. He's certainly not short shifting.
I've seen drivers turn off their engines before too. That's more in oval races in NASCAR. But just literally turn them off there and coast. And of course, in NASCAR, you're already running at maximum speed anyway, so you let that momentum follow. But it's interesting to see it down straight once they get the car up. If they let it coast down into turn 1, that's probably a place that you might be doing it. Or short shifting?
Yeah, I'm not seeing short shifting. I'm not seeing any short shifting here from Jeremy Washington. He is absolutely in it. And we'll see now, though, as it comes down through this back section towards Canada Corner. Let's just take a look at whether he does. I mean, he's coasting it from a reasonable way back, but he's not looking to save huge amounts of fuel. He still wants to keep the pace up. And of course, he needs to keep an eye on the fact that if he does back off too far, Dean Jacobson up 25 spots right now in P3. He's 8 seconds back, but that 8 seconds can evaporate very, very quickly. Let's just watch Jeremy Washington a little longer as we get up and over this hill. Let's just keep a very, very close eye on how he does attack this main straight. Absolutely no lift from Washington.
No, because around 250, 260 has been the top speed in kilometers per hour. So And he got close to that on that one. And of course, on top of it, the lap times are still mid 204s. So that's Danny P's doing mid 204s, almost similar lap times. And Danny P does not have for fuel save.
No, not at all. Alongside Dylan Thomas right now, and that's really what's holding this group up at the moment is the slower traffic ahead of them as they've come out of their pit stops. Danny P, a big dive. Reese Wakefield almost looks like he was thinking about it as well in the background.
Yeah.
But yeah, Reese Wakefield just cutting into the 203s there, 203.98. So very, very quick. He's looking to push hard to try and catch up. I mean, we're only talking 7 more laps at this point. That's not a big ask in terms of fuel.
I think you might be right, Lucas, as well, too. Just to let you know, after the start of the race, after they went down the pit road, they were doing the likes of Joshua and Jeremy. We're in the 205s, late 205s as well, too. So whilst the leaders at the front at that time, Reese Wakefield and Danny P and stuff, they were doing 204s consistently. So there could have been a lot of that fuel saving early from Joshua and Jeremy and Dean.
Right now, though, Danny P, Reese Wakefield, Kyle Ridley, all caught up behind Ryan Taborski, who at this point is making an absolute menace of himself to these drivers who want to get a move on. He's certainly not been the quickest driver on track, Taborski, but he's making that Porsche look about 3 lanes wide at the moment. His fastest tonight at 206. He's a good couple of seconds off the pace here, and yet his defensive work has been so good that they can't get past him at this stage. It's pretty impressive.
He's parking it in the right place, of course. You've got to force him around the inside or the outside. He's just parking it right in the middle of each of the corners. Once again, just there, parking it right in the middle. Yep. But Danny P's not going to be enough of that one. He's actually going to say, Argy Margy's going to force it around the outside. Has to lift off a little bit here, swinging it back around there, cut it to the right-hand corner, and a little bit of braking here, drops it down, gets on the loud pedal, and once again, it's just good exit there from Ryan, and they got to do it all
Taborski's doing
over again.
a phenomenal job here. He really is. I've got to give
He
it to him.
realises that as soon as you stick your nose in some of those corners, you scrub off too much speed. As you see Kyle and Reese go a drag strip down to turn 1.
Side by side into one, Ridley around the outside. It's brave at this stage of the race to be putting your car in a line like that. And again, Danny P right behind Taborski. Taborski just planted in the middle of the track.
And you know what that cost him on that last lap? 207s from those drivers.
Wow.
Joshua, Jeremy and Dean up the front. They had 204s. Well, Joshua and Jeremy did 204s. Dean did a 206. And the other Dean Jacobson did a 207. Dean Powell once again is back ahead of Dean Jacobson. So the Dean and Dean show still happening, but there's a 2-second gap between them. Yeah.
This is the thing that you're seeing here from Taborski. You notice that as soon as Danny P shifted out to try and get the line on that corner, Taborski moved out with him. He didn't just stay where he was. Now, Danny P looks like he's in a good spot. Taborski under huge pressure, trying to defend both the Antic drivers there at once. At the moment, Kyle Ridley in a pretty good position. Wakefield looking to send it up the inside. Danny P's managed to get out in front. But Taborski is doing everything he can to hold on to these points if they're on offer.
There was contact too between Kyle there for a second. Reese had to lift off a little bit.
Yeah, it is absolutely on back
lift
here.
off big time. It allowed Dylan Thomas through too.
And you know, we were talking about the carousel earlier. You get even slightly offline and off pace there, and it really costs you. Look at the amount of lapped time that has cost Reese Wakefield.
Yeah, he lost 3 places just like that. Almost 4 places as Charlie's going around somewhere on the track too. Back in P26.
Go back and take a look at Charlie Milliken. Just gets the tyres onto the grass under brakes. Big hit into the wall. Thankfully not taking out Luke Hayden on the way through.
Yeah, down to 5 to go. No lifting whatsoever, I'd say, there from Joshua and Jeremy.
Still Ridley's gotten past Taborski.
Reese is in. Reese is in. And Aaron. So did Reese cop a bit of damage from? I saw it was a little bit of a knock. It didn't look like a massively hard knock, but Reese is in, and that's going to be devastating for his championship here at the moment. He did slice 9 points away going into this race from Jeremy Washington's lead, and now this is outside of the top 20.
Yeah, that's going to cost him a huge amount, even if it's just a quick in and out for a repair. That's going to cost him a huge amount of time in that pit lane. as you watch him drop 21st.
It's a drive-through. It's a drive-through. He just went straight through.
What has
and
happened
stopped.
for Wakefield? I'm not seeing a drive-through issued to him by race control. What's happened there? This must be.
Tracks.
It must be an iRacing drive-through. Too many incident points. Wow, that's huge. That is absolutely massive
now
for Wakefield. He will be cursing that contact with Ridley because that will have been what pushed it over, I suspect. Meanwhile, I can't look away from Taborski right now. He's no longer holding off the front runners. Danny P and Kyle Ridley have gone through, but Dylan Thomas and Mick Polly are going to have the same kind of battle there. It's phenomenal driving from Taborski. He knows he's not the quickest on track.
It goes to show you don't have to be the fastest man on the track, but you can be the most defensive driver on the track.
You can be the biggest pain to everybody else quite easily, it seems. And Taborski's doing a huge job. So yeah,
Dean's coming in. Dean Jacobson's coming in. So this is interesting. They might not have enough gasoline to go to the end. Dean, after that 22 positions that he gained, actually about 23, 24, he's going to have to drop as well too. No doubt he's going to lose those positions. Maybe even back down to around Mitch Curry, Dan, around behind them, I'd say. Yeah, because he's actually stopped in his box too. So this will be a splash and dash. I'll keep an eye on it for you.
We got confirmation in the chat that Reese's drive-through was indeed due to contact with Kyle Ridley.
Okay.
So, yep, that's the incident points coming through. That is really unfortunate. But does go to show just how full-on this race has been, that he's accumulated that number of points, because there was no... there was not a huge number of points in that. You know, you would have had maybe a 2-bye for that contact, maybe?
Yeah, it is unfortunate. That's why I said you've got to be very careful when you're thinking of the championship of like getting close to the other cars, and you want to get the overtakes done. So they're holding you off, it's frustrating, but at the same time, if you go off the track or if you have an incident, that's going to drop all those places anyway. Unfortunately, happened for a reason. Dean did have a pit stop in that 8.5 seconds. It was a splash and dash. He's back out P14. That'll give you an indication of what's going to happen. If Josh and Jeremy go in, they're going to be around Dylan Thomas and Ryan's battle, perhaps, and that's not a place you want to be coming in.
Look, from the way that we're seeing Washington drive right now, and assuming that we're seeing the right information on his screen here from the view over his shoulder, I don't think there's much in it. Getting confirmation of 4-by from the contact with Ridley, that is rough. That's interesting, because I didn't see anyone go off track or spin as a result of that.
I'm not renewing my iRacing subscription. It's unfair.
that is a really aggressive penalty for that contact. Jeremy Washington doesn't look to be pushing it hard, does he? Because he's not fuel saving, but he's not pushing super hard right now. He's lapping at about the same pace as Josh Benno. So still plenty in this.
But you see, both the Deans were lapping in the 205s and 206s at some point, so I would have done the assumption that might have been a little bit of fuel saving, but as you could see from Dean Jacobson, he didn't have enough. We'll see if the other Dean Powell, if he does a little bit of fuel saving. But we know that Jeremy and Joshua are not at this point.
No, they're not, and you'd have to think with 2.5 laps to go here. They are long laps, but they've got plenty of room to fuel save if they need to. The fact that they're not suggests to me that they've done an awesome job of getting that fuel saving done early, and it's going to pay dividends for them. I am absolutely gobsmacked that you didn't see the Antic Motorsport entries come in for fuel under the safety car.
That's true. You're going to see Danny pass Norman for P6, so he will maybe get a podium if there aren't going to be those late pit stops. That'll be interesting. Dennis is going to be going out and doing whatever he can to try to maximise the points for his team. He's got his teammate up the road there of Aaron in P5. And I'm just looking, because from our information, it's not always accurate, but it said Joshua Benno stopped for 24 seconds stationary. Jeremy Washington stopped for 21.5 seconds stationary. So that's a 3-second difference in fuel, perhaps, and Joshua might be able to go to the end. Jeremy might not be able to go to the end on that one. Jeremy is starting to pull him in too at the moment, actually, because they're about a second gap between them.
I'm going to call it now. I reckon Washington's not going to have the fuel to make it around a lap after the checkered flag. I reckon he's fueled right to the flag and no more. As he closes the gap to within 1 second of Josh Benno, we might see a last lap battle for P1 here.
And that's interesting. That's last lap battles on vapors too, if possible.
Yeah.
And
What you'd like to
Dean
see,
Powell's
isn't it?
in. Dean's in. So his last pit stop was a 22-second pit stop. So this one will be a splash and dash as well. Dean Jacobson took it at 8.5. I'd imagine this is probably around the 7 mark, because you only have to put yourself 2 laps of gasoline in. And
Still going to cost him 40 odd seconds though.
That's 2 podium positions essentially now dropped out in pit road. So whether or not James that's got that podium position there, Aaron, and Danny P's going to be moving himself up to P5 now.
And full credit to James Salhani. If he can maintain this, he's gained 27 positions this race to get to P3.
Yeah.
That is massive from Salhani.
He's from Brisbane, mate. I wouldn't expect anything less from Brisbane.
Nathan Bowman as well, though, in P6 is up 23. So there's a lot of positions that have been gained, and we'll put them up on screen for you here to give you a bit of a view of where the moving and shaking has been done. But there are some drivers that have come from the absolute back of the pack, have taken full advantage of that lap 1 safety car, and have made the fuel stick all the way through. We've got about a lap and a half to go.
You've got to go to the end. I don't expect to see anybody peeling in, even if you're going to be running it on vapors. For Joshua and Jeremy. It's the Triple J show at the front, my friend. Joshua, Jerry and James.
It very much is. Washington is not reeling in Benno at this point. You'd have to think Benno's got enough fuel up the sleeve that he can start to really push on here. But even there, the corner going the right way for Washington, he's just carved another 1500ths out of Benno. So closer and closer as they come around to start the final lap. Does Washington have the fuel to push, or is he going to have to settle for second place?
Yeah, according to the stats, it said there's about 3-second fuel difference between them, but that's not always very accurate. But if that's the case, Joshua might have a little bit more. But then again, we don't know how much fuel saving that Joshua did in that first stint. When they were behind, when they were back in about 220 and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to think that he's done a huge amount to find himself where he is. But this is the mark of a champion, and certainly a championship contender in Josh Benno. They've absolutely nailed it here tonight, made the very, very most of that early safety car, getting the fuel tanks filled to the brim and making it last. Washington is certainly not sticking around, hitting almost 260 k an hour there on the run into turn 5, closes the gap even further for Josh Benno in front. I don't know if he's going to be able to get it done here, but it is going to be a very close thing indeed.
I bet he's going to be selling the donuts. For the victory.
I suspect he probably won't have enough up the sleeve for that, no.
Well, you got Joshua only has to hold off a couple more sectors right now and can take the win, which would be fantastic for him. Knowing that Reese Wakefield, second in the championship, is going to finish in P17, so that'll be a chunk of points that he'll take off. Jeremy will increase his lead in the championship, and should be very happy with P2. Certainly happy with that strategy, making these cars eke all the way to the end.
You've done it 2 weeks in a row.
Of course. Big gain, of course, in 188 P3.
Yeah, so to do it 2 weeks in a row like this is something else entirely. And that safety car obviously coming at the right time, but with a field this big, I mean we're talking 36 drivers again this evening. It's almost a given that you can expect a big moment for Chris Lashbrook as he fires off the side of the track.
I think he's just getting out of the way. He doesn't want to interfere with any of these front runners as they're battling for the final corners. Final corner is done and dusted. Joshua should be able to hold off Jeremy. And that'll be an absolutely strategy mastermind as he celebrates by flashing his lights there. Josh Benno gets the job done here in Road America.
22 seconds back to James Salhani. So Salhani, a massive drive. He will be absolutely cheering in that SLM Motorsport McLaren. 27 positions gained here in race number 2. Aaron Schotter and Danny P, the next to come through. Aaron Schotter just behind, but Danny P still only just coming up the hill now, so not at all what he would have hoped for as a result. And I've got to wonder if I don't understand why he didn't go into the pits in that safety car period. it is mystifying to me when he saw the performance from Washington last time. Yeah, it's bizarre. Some great performances right throughout though. Nathan Bowman up 23 positions. Dylan Thomas up 26 to P10. So started last, finished in the top 10. That is a huge effort.
Absolutely, and I think some of those drivers were in the wars earlier too.
Oh, side by side, Wakefield and Mirko. That's a .000 finish. Mirko just retains it. Just
You don't
retains
see
it.
that very often. They need to add another digit. iRacing.
That was
Yeah.
dead even at the finish there, but it looks like Dan Mirko has just held Reece Wakefield in P17. Nothing in it at all. I can't remember the last time I saw 0.00 on our telemetry here. Eagles?
Imagine, I've never seen it actually. Imagine Reece Wakefield losing the championship by 1 point in the last round.
I mean,
because of
stranger
that.
things have happened, right?
And then go back and look at that one and go, if only I had an extra digit in iRacing. But anyway, that's a lot of what ifs in the situation. But Jeremy Washington looking more solid once again. He got a top 5 finish, didn't he? I think, or no, 7th or something like that. And at least a top 10 finish in the first heat, but more importantly in the feature race. Mastermind strategy.
Solid points again, and Washington making it count in these longer races. I can't imagine we'll see the same again for Anthony next week, surely. I
They
mean,
could have gambled, didn't it, on one car, splitting the strategy, say one car go in, one car stay out, and if there's a late, because, they could have been banking on another late safety car on that situation in the race. We had 2 safety cars, remember, in our first heat race. So they could have been saying, okay, well, there's probably a good chance of another safety car, so thus we'll have our strategy based around that. But of course, when that extra safety car does not come out, then you're in a little bit of trouble.
most impressively, both Jeremy Washington and Josh Benno making it back to the pits under their own steam.
Ah, that's very, very good. Yes, exactly. They don't have to get scrutineered for, they probably should scrutineer to see where they're hiding their moonshine in the back of those cars. They've got it done.
Maybe the results from our feature race on screen for you now. Josh Benno taking the win for FCR Sim Sport, followed by Jeremy Washington just shy of 3/10 behind. An awesome battle right the way to the end. Not as close as some of the others that we saw going on, but certainly one worth watching. James Salhani, a huge drive coming through in P3. Then Aaron Schotter and Danny P ahead of Nathan Bowman. Kyle Ridley finishing in 7th will pick up some good points there as well. Mick Polly probably deserved a little more tonight from some of the driving we saw from him, but unfortunately P8 the best he could manage at this stage. Dean Powell picking up 9th ahead of Dylan Thomas in 10th. Josh Harrison 11th and Wiley Blair in 12th ahead of Ryan Taborski in 13th. A phenomenal drive for Taborski. Really was. Finished up 18 positions, and I don't think we've seen too many people put that much pressure on when defending Reece Wakefield.
Oh, yes.
That was a massive
Brilliant
effort from Taborski, so absolutely hats off. And I'm going to call it now. I'm giving him driver of the day for that defensive effort alone. Salhani, huge effort to be up 27 positions, but Taborski up 18 and holding off the 2 Antic Motorsports entries for that long. You can't be beat.
No, absolutely. Defensive driving is something that you should always give a pat on the back to any driver that does it, because most of the time you see in highlight reels, you always see the highlights of overtakes, but you never see the highlights of fantastic defensive driving.
No, absolutely right. As we let's start having a bit of a chat to some of these drivers, shall we? Let's bring James Salhani into the booth. James, a huge drive for you tonight. Congratulations on making the podium after starting, if my numbers are right, in P30 in race 2. What a drive!
P32.
P32. There you go. Okay, so bit of a long way through the field tonight, but you've made it stick. How are you feeling right now?
That second race was head down and try not to get in any more trouble, especially after the start with that incident. So I was a bit hesitant to come in after safety car because I thought there's probably going to be another one with how race 1 went. So yeah, I guess I made the right choice.
Yeah, absolutely, and got away with one pit stop. How close were you to absolute vapors at the end of that race?
I overfueled there. It was a guessing game really going in there under safety car on lap 1, so I accidentally filled up extra like 4 litres, so yeah.
But you're glad you did that now, mate.
Definitely. It allowed me to push to get Aaron in the Mercedes, so happy about that.
Well, an awesome result for you tonight, James. Good to see you get a solid whack of points out of race 2, and we'll take a look at the championship standings in just a moment, but for now we'll let you go and celebrate a very, very hard-fought podium position here tonight. Congrats again.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
James Talhani from SLM Motorsport taking P3, and we go to an all-too-familiar voice by this stage. Jeremy Washington, welcome back to the booth. Congratulations. Another phenomenal performance in terms of your fuel saving here in race 2.
Thanks, Jared. It's good to be back. I'm not actually sure what position I finished in the end. Josh may have a penalty, so...
Oh, there you go.
P1 or P2, I'm not sure. But no, it was a good race.
Well, can't argue with that. And we were watching with bated breath across the last few laps as you slowly chipped away at Benno's lead. Again, I've got to ask the same question I asked of Salhani just a moment ago. What was your fuel situation at the end of that one tonight?
Mine was pretty good. Same as last race, I had a little bit to spare, so I could push on. I was really just trying to get into his draft to put a bit of pressure on. He was sending me messages while he was driving, so he was quite fast and consistent and multi-talented. So no, Josh drove really well, so didn't quite have a chance with him. But no, fuel-wise, it was okay.
From a championship perspective, the decision to pit under safety car, absolutely the right strategy for you here tonight. Were you as surprised as we were to see the Antic Motorsports cars stay out under safety car?
I was a little surprised. I thought they might keep one out just to split the strategy a bit, because it is a little bit risky. You do get put back in the pack when you do pit early, but time-wise it saves you so much time. So yeah, I thought Reese would pit and maybe Danny would stay out, but no, it worked out really well for me. And then I don't know, it looked like Reese had some more trouble later on. So overall, a pretty good weekend and good result for me.
Absolutely. Well, mate, well done. We'll see if we do get a chance to chat to Josh Benno or not, but we'll wait to see the stewards' results, I suppose, as to where you do finish up. Regardless, though, another fantastic drive, 22 seconds ahead of James Salhani in third, so making it look easy and certainly on track for, dare I say it, back-to-back championships. How are you feeling about that possibility at the moment?
No, still a long way to go, and when it comes to race 1 and the pace, the Antic boys are really, 3 or 4 tenths quicker than me. So we're out of the drop rounds now, so one bad result and you lose it all. So I'm up for it, but I'm not banking on it just yet.
Well, plenty left to play for, plenty of work still to do. We'll be watching with a very keen interest as always. Jeremy, congratulations on tonight's result in race 2. We'll let you go and unwind a little, hey?
Yeah, thanks, Jared. Have a good one, guys.
Biggles, an interesting set of results, all things considered. Let's take a look, though, at the current point standing. Now, again, as Jeremy mentioned, we're at the end of the drop rounds here, so it's possible that we might see a drop round happen from tonight's results. Potentially, we'll have to wait and see how it all washes up once penalties and the bonus points are calculated and all the rest. But as it stands, based purely on finishing positions tonight, the provisional results show Reese Wakefield dropping back to a 42-point gap to Jeremy Washington. He started tonight with 12 points back. He's lost a further 28 tonight with the results. Josh Benno has managed to stay in touch, moves up into position 2, now 24 points behind Jeremy Washington. Danny P moves up a little, Mick Polly moves down a little. It's certainly looking like changing the face of this championship standing quite a bit if this round does stick, doesn't it?
Yeah, and also it's going to take away the opportunity of a number 1 driver as well too on the Antic Motorsports, because now with Danny P catching up a little bit, he's shy of 40, well, also shy of points. Can switch pretty interesting, and you've got to think that the teammates are going to work together here and not necessarily just focus on getting Reese to the championship win. Yeah, because at the end of the day, they've got to catch both Jeremy and Joshua.
A lot of work to do.
After these results.
A lot of work
Hopefully
to do.
we get. I don't know if we're still going to speak to Joshua. He might be talking to race control, or whatever, electing. But what we heard from Jeremy on that situation, if there is a post-race penalty or not. But for now, just got to celebrate the fact that he did win the race, got the job done. And Jeremy echoed exactly what I said, isn't it, about the situation with the Antic Motorsports drivers of like why not splitting their strategy perhaps and seeing how that one had panned out, but it just wasn't to be today. And of course with the drive-through penalty as well to the Reese Wakefield, to finish back at P17.
Yeah, not a happy evening, I'm sure, for him, but plenty still to come. Right, we've got 3 rounds left, and this championship is not by any stretch of the imagination done. We head to what must be, I reckon, the most synonymous track when it comes to GT3 racing on iRacing. We're heading to Spa next week, Biggles. It's gonna be pretty epic, I suspect.
Bring on the rain.
Absolutely, right? 3 rounds to go. So Spa next week, we have the Daytona 2-hour Enduro for round 7, and then round 8, the driver's vote track. Awaiting official confirmation, but it does look like we are heading to Magny-Cours for the season finale, which is another incredible track to see this out. And I can't think of 3 better tracks to give us some more racing excitement for what is left of this season of the Domains2U GT3 Championship here with MC Motorsport. Biggles, as always, it's been a massive pleasure sharing the booth with you. Thank you so much, my friend, for keeping us all company.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and following. And make sure you like and subscribe.
Absolutely. Cannot miss what's left of this season. A huge thank you, of course, as always, to the sponsors of MC Motorsport's GT3 Championship, Domains2U.com.au, our primary sponsor for this season, iWrap Designs and Sixpence Coffee Roasters, along with Maximum Effort Racing, and of course, Everything Simulated. Fantastic support from all of the sponsors to make this all happen. From everybody here at Simple Racing Broadcasts, a huge thank you to you for keeping with us and watching along at home. We appreciate your support and your interest as we bring you each round of this championship. We've got 3 left to go. Do make sure you stick with us for each of them. But of course, for now, stay safe. And it is, until next time, goodbye for now.